Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Few races have as much history. Few have as much prestige. On the surface, it seems simple. 200 laps around a square oval, and the first one to do it wins. Yet the reality is so much more difficult. It is the original, it is the Majors Speedway 500, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Stephen Koenig. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. It's hard to find people who haven't heard of Indy, but in case you don't know the ins and outs, let's head to our track guide to learn more.
Indianapolis, the Brickyard, the world capital of racing. No matter how you put it, quite simply, there is no place like Indy. Originally constructed in 1909, the 2.5-mile oval hosted a variety of racing events, including a hot air balloon race. But it wasn't until 1911 that the stars aligned and the first 500-mile classic was held, and the rest, as they say, is history. The original 3.2 million bricks that were laid down as a track surface were eventually replaced with asphalt, leaving only a 3 feet wide swath at the start-finish line, giving the speedway its famous moniker, the Brickyard. Today, Indianapolis stands as a testament of speed and endurance, with the 5/8 of a mile straightaways blending seamlessly into the 9.2-degree banked corners and allowing for cars to reach staggering speeds of upwards of 240 miles an hour. While each corner may look identical, every one presents its own separate challenge, with wind speed and direction playing a crucial part when it comes to car stability. Total commitment is required to send the car hurtling into turn 1, but aggression is not rewarded, as smooth hands are what is needed to lightly click the apex on each corner and power down the long straightaways. For spectators, Indy is unlike anything in the world. With race day attendance estimated to reach nearly 400,000 people, it proudly holds on to the title as the largest single-day sporting event ever recorded. To the pomp and circumstance on race day, to the silent majesty exuded in silence, there is no place like this in the world. It is spectacular. It is awe-inspiring. It is Indy.
Well, as I said, Stephen, this place has just so much history. You can feel it as soon as you step on the grounds.
It's absolutely amazing, and it's why it's called the Brickyard. I mean, this is a track that has made champions, it's made teams go to elevated heights. It's where you want to be, and it's why it's one of the crowning tracks to be at, crowning races, and now the Indy 500 in virtual format will crown new champions.
This is the race that they've been running since the beginning of the majors as well. So it's literally the original of this series on top of things. But that is the track. Let's take a look at the championship, which has been quite tight, especially this far into things. As Trevor Vrosky currently up at the top with Garen Batten chasing him. A bit unusual for the fact that lately it's been the Swedish contingent that has been basically dominating the Majors series. But Jesper Eriksson is the first one you'll see from that crew, sitting down in third, 62 points behind the lead. And then, of course, his teammate Fredriksson behind him a long ways on top of that. So we'll see if they can start to make that up, as they do usually run very well here on the Indy Oval. From there, you've got a lot of your regulars here in the European Series. Ed Shelley, Tom Guest, Daniel Holmer, Wayne Hutchison in there as well, along with David Baker and Daniel Thomas. Of course, that is the driver standings. We also have a teams championship. Stephen, how's that one looking?
Well, at the moment, the team standings is quite tight with SimRace Sweden Esports on 2,282 points. Only 36 points behind them is Fusion Gold Euro, Dog Bear running in third, Fusion Silver Euro running in fourth, with 381 points down. Composite Performance, Baby Metal, Not Too Cold Racing has been on full flight, unfortunately, not getting into that top 5 just as yet. UDOC Stacey in 7th place, LDL Racing in 8th, Fusion Bronze Euro in 9th position, and rounding out our top 10 of the teams is Connection Lost Racing.
And of course, for our race details for this one, it's pretty much what you're used to seeing if you've ever watched an Indy 500, the Speedway 500, also 200 laps here around the track in the Dallara IR18. It is open setups for these cars, and that's going to be so important in the race itself. Having a car that is both good in traffic and quick in clear air. You got to find that compromise. And as always for the majors, you have one spare car. However, that is your safety net. If you use it early, it could make you vulnerable late in the race. It'll be important to hold onto it if you can. Don't want to use it too early on, just in case something befalls you late on. As always, we do want to mention the sponsor for this series as well. Make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free baseline setups, and get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. If you use our special discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. Now, qualifying has already wrapped up for today's race, so drivers now just getting the last little bits of practice in. And while they do have practice requirements for this series, Stephen, I have to imagine getting out there amongst the other cars is going to be so important because for most of the drivers, you're going to have to be used to being around other people for these 200 laps.
Well, this is the thing. You go and have 30 laps that you have to do mandatory prior to your pre-quali. But now, where you have this opportunity to be in the same lobby with the drivers, get to see how they take the corners, maybe a little bit of work on the setup. You're starting to realize they're that 1 or 2 kilometers quicker in a straight line. Means you can do finer adjustments to your car to make sure you can climb your way to the top without tire compromise, because you don't want to take out your tires too early in the race and they end up falling backwards through the train.
One thing I do love that they do special for this race, often they'll have various coins and things that you can win for the events, physical items that will be mailed to you if you're a winner here in the majors. For this one, appropriately, you get a milk bottle if you take a victory here today. As the winner in the real world, Indy 500, of course, gets to drink milk up on the podium and get to celebrate. So drivers here will not have milk in the bottle, thankfully. I don't think it'd be a good idea to try and mail that across the world, as we've got drivers from all over competing. But you do get an empty one sent to you, specially marked with the Speedway 500 logo on it for this event. So drivers going to be trying to be able to claim that, as looks like the practice is now wrapping up, so we'll get that starting order shortly. We won't have the 3 wide start, as we can't do that in iRacing, but it'll still be very important to be up at the front and starting from pole with that clear air here. And with that, let's go through our starting grid for today's race. And not big of a surprise with Hakan Schut going to be starting on the top spot. Garen Batten actually on the top spot there. Alex Crow will begin from P2, and then it's Sebastian Jackson starting from 3rd. Jeff Schmeier will be P4. Wallace Tarazi is going to be starting in 5th today. You've got Robert Northway starting in the 6th position. And then it's going to be Eric Smith in P7. Ray Partridge will begin from 8th, with row 5 starting with Matthias Strauss on the inside and Gabor Tarazi on the outside of your top 10. What about the next 10, Stephen?
Taking a look on row 6, we got Wayne Hutchison who is currently running 11th. Aldous Pukils is running in 12th. Then we got Christian McCauley, Jasper Eriksson, who is really hoping to get a big climb up through the ladder. David Baker running in 15th. 16th, Daniel Thomas. Oscar Fredrickson in 17th. 18th is Trevor Vorosky. And Scott Kukas running in 19th. 20th is Ryan G. Walker to take us all the way back.
Ryan, a former winner in this race. Haken Schutz all the way down in 21st. Unusually low for him. Pim van Gastel is going to be starting in 22nd. Tom Dreiling 23rd, as Bart Mattia will be starting from 24th. After that, it is Josh Hampton, P25, Troy Anderson, 26, and Michael Hagstrom in 27th. Daniel Homer starts 28th today with Patrick Kopp in 29th, followed by Tom Guest in 30th. I'll just wrap up the last few we've got here. Jerry Forkle will be starting 31st, Jeffrey Mathon in 32nd, and Paul Nicholson in 33rd. And then just a few more than is traditional here at Indy. Carlos Fernandez starts 34th, Michael Hogg 35th, and Adam Preston 36th position. The start always so important. It doesn't determine the winner necessarily, Stephen, but staying out of trouble is going to be so key.
It's also to try and lock up behind the right train on the start. You don't want to be caught out and land up going backwards. You need to ensure that you're either going to take the high line, the mid line, or the low line, whatever's going to work for you and whatever's going to work for your competitors. The start is always about just finding that rhythm and continuing forward. Otherwise, you might be having those early pit stops.
Exactly, and you want to try and run that out. Fuel saving going to be a factor potentially, as fuel is always a talking point here at the 500. You can see the pace car getting ready to release them as Batten will start from that valuable inside pole position. What kind of start are we going to see down into turn one as he waits for the green, and he's already on it. Green flag is out. It's a big jump for Guerin. That 61 across the yard of bricks, already a couple car lengths ahead of P2. Down into turn one they go, and it looks like front of the field going to get very single file, so it looks like everybody's got a very wise head on their shoulders for the start of this race, Stephen.
Now it's turning into quite a battle, but it's all the way towards the midfield that's getting a little bit busy as drivers are still trying to figure out what they can do. Ulrich, who's moving a little bit forward, trying to battle his way through, hanging on to the back of the train as much as possible to try and break away from Northway, who's running in 7th right behind him, running out a little bit too wide.
See Eric Smith there, having gained one position from the start, not doing too shabby. He's got a little bit of too wide behind him. Robert Northway versus Matthias Strauss. Strauss is going to have to back out as Robert will take that 7th position. But yeah, this is definitely a very calm start. So glad to see that, as often, sometimes in the majors, the 500 can be plagued by a few yellows at the beginning. We're already into lap 2. Batten, Jackson, and Crow, your top 3.
All trying to figure out what's going to work here, but no one coming off the gas, no one going and worrying about saving fuel just as yet, as Batten's starting to open up that gap, 0.2 seconds ahead, but we are on board with Sebastian, gaining, looks for the inside line, second guessed it, absolutely keeping his foot planted, goes down the gear, but take a look who's got the fastest lap. It's Aldous who's gone and put himself with the fastest lap with a 41.255. That is incredible.
So looking fast early on, although the driver that has gained the most positions here at the start looks to be Jasper Eriksson. He's up 4, sitting in 10th right now. Still watching Jackson continuing to ride. Does look like he's thinking long-term here. Happy to allow Batten to push the air for him and maybe just save a little bit of fuel. See how long he can open up this first stint, as we got a little bit of a fight now between Jeff Schmeier and looks like Northway underneath him, but Northway can't get through.
Northway has been really on the back foot, trying to run a little bit too high at the early start of the race, and now just trying to figure out where on earth can he figure out that little bit of grip, going right underneath the gearbox to see if it's going to be possible to try get a better run. He's gone to the midline now, trying to throw the car around. Absolutely beautiful, and has retaken the position. Northway's going to be happy with that one.
Oh, look at how important momentum is today, because Strauss easily overtaking Paz. Schmeier is going to lose 2 more as Ericsson also sneaks through, and now he finally slots in the line. They always talk about it in oval racing, give and take such a big part. Survival sometimes more important than that track position, Stephen.
And it's always got to be trying to find where your teammates are. We've got to remember this is a team event as well. You want to make sure that you guys are in communication. But change up for second place. Sebastian down into third. He's fighting it out though. But can he keep it going, as Batten's going to be quite happy to see that the two are fighting it out. He's got a little bit of movement, and Crow is on the run now.
Tarazi took a look, but decided not to pass Jackson. Instead, you mentioned it, Crow carrying that speed up to the lead. Our new leader for the first time in this race on lap 6 down into turn 1. Alex Crow has the point.
Crow's going to be extremely happy with that. I mean, that was a tremendous amount of drive coming out as they get very, very close to the wall, trying to pick up any bit of speed possible. But now the difficulty is he's punching a hole in the air for the entire field. How far can he go without losing too much time? Robert Northway, once again, going very wide, midline, trying to keep those tires alive and to ensure that he has a little bit more of a run coming out of the corner.
Yeah, getting that clean air on the front of his car, just stepping out from behind Tarazi for a brief moment. Oh, and we may have had an accident, but no caution. I see Scott Kukas heading into pit lane, and he's got a meatball flag next to him on my timing and scoring. He must have had a major incident here.
Well, keep an eye out. Batten under pressure. He has got an issue to try and deal with. Jackson very, very hungry for a position. And Tarotsky right behind is also going to be challenging. We might see a little bit of a 3 wide here. Robert Northway around the outside. Whoa. Very close to the wall. Had to back out of it.
That was gutsy from Northway, and he will wind up in 4th because of that. So already some drivers making some risky moves just to get themselves a little bit farther forward. Meanwhile, Sebastian Jackson just took P2. Here's what happened to Kukas. Drifts up high. That looks like the short chute. And unfortunately found himself into the wall. Did not spin across the track. Ooh, had to really dive, though. But caused somebody a bit of concern there. And eventually found his way down to pit lane. But he's already gone multiple laps down.
Jackson up into first place. Crow down into second. Crow's trying to fight back, but Jackson has now picked up the pace, really giving it horns and a little bit behind. Robert Northway also trying to figure out how to get past our original leader of Batten. Now, Batten's leading out the championship. This is crucial moments for him to stay within the top 3, and unfortunately, low line lost a bit of pace, and around the outside, Northway has taken 3rd place.
Very interesting, because usually at Indianapolis, it tends to be very single file in the corners, but Northway using the high line, I mean, it's extremely rare you talk about that being any quicker here at Indianapolis. So somehow he's got a car that's very hooked up and is ready to try and make some ambitious moves.
Maybe because he's trying to protect the tires a little bit more, because it seems to be working on aggression, cooling it all off, allowing a little bit more travel. Well, let's see what he does. Next to Crow, gets the pass around the outside. We've seen this work before. Tucks in beautifully, and now right behind Jackson. So he's definitely trying to protect the tires a little bit more. Maybe a pit stop strategy. Run it a little bit later into the race instead of earlier. A bit of a swap around may happen here as Jackson trying to just move offline. And that has just given Northway the perfect opportunity to go high line. See if he can maybe get round. Unfortunately not, but Crow definitely made up a monster of pace.
He likes that move, but Jackson said, it's not going to work on me. Just faded him maybe a little bit too high to allow him to be able to cut back down and take the position. He gains once again down the main straight and into turn 1, but he's not close enough. And for the first time in some time, we finally get single file for our top 10. Already 10 laps, more than 10 laps into this 200-lap event as Daniel Holmer now takes our fastest lap. It'll be fascinating to watch as the sun continues to beat down on the surface. It's already 108 Fahrenheit on the track right now, and it's a partly cloudy day, but I don't see many clouds in the sky right now. So I suspect we're going to see that temperature just rise as the afternoon goes on.
I'm rather impressed with the mid-pack because so far they've the whole mid-pack has been the quickest throughout the race. I mean, you take a look, Daniel's sitting in 13th position and is just properly trying to pick up the pace. So keep an eye on him. I don't think it's going to be too much before we see our mid-pack start becoming our front pack.
One thing to keep in mind with all of this, as you're watching all these drivers, the Majors does things a little different than most series. They don't run the IR18 in every round, as Oscar Fredrickson's going to look down to the inside now. This is for 15th. And looks like he's not going to be able to sneak past Wayne Hutchison in the process. The whole deal with the Majors is they race basically all kinds of real-world major events. So you've got all different types of cars, all different types of tracks, even different surfaces that these drivers will be competing on. So it requires a variety of disciplines that you need to be very good at. You need to be an adaptable driver. And oval racing, especially open wheel oval racing, is very much its own thing compared to a lot of other styles.
There's no jump in and just climb in, that's it, you're in the race. And that's what I gotta say, makes it more and more exciting to be part of the Majors series, because it pushes you as a driver to improve your skills, to hone your skills, and to be at the very best, to call yourself essentially the world champion. Well, you have to nail every format of racing possible, from oval, circuits, dirts, whatever you can think of. You're going to have to try your best at it and figure it out. And with definitely you can get the help of the Majors Garage to get those setup work. Ultimately, it comes down to a bit of coaching to get those skills up and working. Exactly.
You can see, once again, Majors Garage. If you want to get on, you can get 10% off with Majors GSRC. Yeah, setup's so important, especially on the oval side of racing and finding speed. Robert Northway sitting in second. Does he want to be our latest to take the lead away? Sebastian Jackson currently on that top spot. No, he's gotten up to this second place, and Sebastian seems to have just kind of put the door up and said, no, that's as far as you go. You're not going to be leading this race. That's where I hold the line.
I've got to also give it up to him. It's been soaking up a huge amount of pressure. Robert Northway is not backing down. We saw that on board, in through the visor, how close he's trying to bring the car in, trying to mimic as many lines as possible, sit in those mirrors and try and get the driver to look around. But unfortunately, Jackson's more than comfortable to have as many cars behind him, soaks up all that pressure, but Crow at the back there is not one to be taken lightly. And don't forget, Batten isn't leading the championship for nothing. He's still riding in fourth place at the moment and has an opportunity to move up.
Absolutely. And these drivers, now we're starting to see a little bit of weaving down the back straightaway. So the Dragon makes its first appearance, and drivers will use that sometimes to try and break the toe if you're not familiar and haven't watched an Indy 500. So this is drivers just trying to see if they can keep other drivers from getting an easy pass down these long straightaways. Meanwhile, there's another little weave down the main straight by Sebastian Jackson. Meanwhile, they are now, lap 17 into this one. Traditionally, if they stay green, we see anywhere from 30 to 33 laps that these drivers can run on fuel. If they go ultra saving, we've seen as many as 35, but it takes quite a bit of effort.
Jasper Eriksson up into 8th, was a little bit further down the order on the start. Slowly with the climb to get back up. Remember, he's running 3rd in the championship, needs to try get within that top 5 to stay in for the fight for the entire championship. But at the same time, don't get too aggressive, don't wear the tires out, otherwise that understeer is going to start creeping in worse and worse around Indianapolis. And well, we've already seen the walls can claim the cars one by one.
And Batten with a pretty good history in the majors. It's hard to get wins in this series. There's surprisingly few that have more than one victory, as Jesper Eriksson gets a nice little piece of racetrack down to the inside, moves up one more spot. But 5 wins to Garen Batten, and that's only in 39 starts. So he's going to try and add to one here today, as he has already taken 2 in the first 4 rounds. So he's had great momentum so far this season.
Jasper, unfortunately, dropping down back into 8th position and starting to fall into the clutches. of Puclis, who's right behind, trying to close up that gap, but all the drivers pushing as hard as they can. And Tavarotsky going and making a great run now. Apologies, it isn't Batten that was leading out the championship. It's this man over here in 18th position, trying to also defend at the moment. And it's got Thomas really putting some pressure onto the back of him.
Yeah, Trevor Roski, another one that's been around for quite some time. And he's a little bit of a different one, though, because he's only had 3 wins out of 102 starts, but came in kind of more from the oval side of things and is definitely very strong all across, though, and showing himself that you can't really count him out no matter what, because yes, he started a little bit farther down. He's still where he started in this race, actually, but usually by the end of the 500 he is there or thereabouts. So expect that this 18th position won't last forever. He's just letting the race come to him.
Couple of drivers still trying to figure out what's going to be the best line. We are starting to see a little bit more. Now the question is, when is the pit stops going to come in? Because that is always the game changer every single time. Pit stops come in. If you're all going in at the same time, well, it changes things up. Safety car might be a factor, but for many people that haven't banked on that, what is going to be the strategy? Are you going to switch out those tires? Are you going to fill it right up to the brim? What's the game plan? How far can you stretch this tank?
So, for those up at the front, Northway, I mean, he's been sitting back there in second for some time now. Wonder if he's been saving some fuel. I also look at Eric Smith. Garen Batten gave up the lead early, has moved backwards to 4th. Has he maybe been using that to his advantage? Or guys like Jesper Eriksson up 6 positions, so he's gained, but we haven't seen him moving as quickly lately, and has maybe just been hanging out there in that 8th spot. And if we go all the way back down to the back of the field, Christian McCrelly started 13th, has fallen all the way to 33rd. Now, I don't think that was due to any sort of damage, because he's still with kind of the main group, if you will, still within touch of the field. So I wonder if that was a strategic call from the 701 to maybe kind of drop to the back, stay out of trouble, again, save fuel, and then wait for the race to happen. Because we haven't had any cautions yet, but I can promise you we'll get some at some point.
Come on, you've got to be positive here. We're going to have a fantastic run of flat-out racing till the end. Everyone wants to see some flat-out racing, not to sit behind some safety car. I mean, it's a beautiful-looking safety car, but we've got even better-looking cars going at tremendous amount of speed. But I want to just pick your brain a little bit, and it's with Robert Northway. Going and seeing, he's actually calmed it down on his lines. He's now just keeping right up against Jackson, mimicking the lines. He's not taking those high lines he once was. He's trying to figure things out a little bit better, and maybe a less aggressive approach to try and take that first place.
Well, he was definitely more active in previous seasons. He's come back. He's kind of been on a partial season this year. Only 2 starts thus far. No wins this season, but he does have 6 all-time. Last time he won, 2024 in the Pacific region. So see if he can get his first here in 2025. Certainly looks like he's got good speed to try and do so this time, but it was only 1 win there in 2024. Before that, it was a 2-year span, and before his last one in 2022, took 4 wins that season. So he's maybe just trying to bring back a bit of that glory as we continue to ride on board, just down through the first half of the circuit and on to the back straight. I have noticed that he has been kind of hanging consistently about this far back, about a quarter of a second behind. So I do think this is very intentional, Stephen, that he's letting the laps tick off in this stage.
Well, he's just putting enough pressure to try and ensure the tires are getting worn out, but at the same time, he can take his foot a little bit off the power to allow a bit of fuel saving. Not too much, though, as Crow's right behind him trying to chase him down, but Jasper now on for a huge uptake, trying to make his way through. So let's see how Jasper's going to be able to get past Strauss. It's been on his tail for the last little while.
other thing that we haven't mentioned, because I had just touched on that it was in the Pacific region, of course, that he was competing last season. So we watch Oscar Fredrickson still down in 15th. The major is obviously a huge organization, a huge series. So there are multiple different regions that compete in the same race. Sometimes, honestly, different races that they hold for the wild card rounds. And it's gone through various iterations on that. Of course, we're watching the European one this time around. Boy, that was close side to side coming down into turn one. And Fredrickson, despite having the inside, gets denied by Hutchison through turn one. So that was certainly brave between the two of them. But they also, of course, have the Americas running simultaneously. And then they have the international region over with Asia and Australia running elsewhere in the series this year. So 3 different regions, but it all started with the Pacific majors, or the Northwest majors, I guess I should say. It was all the Northwest club drivers here in iRacing that started this off in the Indy 500 they ran, I think, back in either 2013 or 2014 was the very first one they did. And once again, Hutchison is really not taking any guff from Oscar Fredrickson. Is up to the outside wall. Did Fredrickson just clip it?
It looked like Oscar just had a bit of a friendly encounter there. But let's see if there's any damage to the car. Doesn't look like it. He's going to try and go around the outside to gain some time. But man, oh man, definitely a scary moment that's come through. And the team will be frantically looking around the car, making sure everything's a-okay. Just to radio and say, okay, just keep going, head down. Let's push a little bit harder here. And don't get too close to that wall again.
Yeah, I went back and checked on my screen, and it was hard to tell. It may have touched it, but it was very close. Oh, Sebastian Jackson has come into the pits, but for some reason has damage on the car. I'm not sure if he wrecked and wound up in there, or if he just maybe had a problem entering pit lane trying to get the car woed up. Remember, they're coming in from 200 plus miles an hour, having to get down to about 50 miles an hour.
Ericsson up into 6th position, 2 places up, and is now on the charge to try make up some time, getting right into the toe of Smith just ahead. Let's see how he's going to be able to make this work, because he's been on a consistent wait, pull the trigger, wait, pull the trigger approach to the rest of the field.
So yeah, I can see McCrelly has been in pit lane, taking a pit stop. Kukas obviously took his free repair. Sebastian Jackson, oh no, just under braking. I mean, you're not using those brakes at all around the lap. So maybe cold brakes, and did not expect them to grip like they did getting down to that pit speed limit, Stephen.
Are going and binding them brakes, and now the question is, the team are going to have to do some frantic repair on the nose. That's going to cost them a fair amount of time in the car to try and get this all sorted out and back out onto the circuit. But then it's also going to be looking at the front suspension, or they can use that spare car. And once again, is it the right time to use a spare car? 31 laps in out of 200. It's a bit of a tough call.
Well, I can give you the answer on that. Looking at my timing and scoring, he did not use his spare car. So he still has it in his pocket. I guess the fact that it was just the nose kind of saved him, because once that was kind of knocked off, as long as he didn't hit the suspension, that's easily replaced in the sim. Paul Nicholson has also taken his pit stop, so he's been in and out. We've got 4 drivers that have had stops now at this stage. 32 of them were still waiting. This is a bit early, but not outrageously early. I'm expecting we'll probably get a whole bunch more in very soon. But remember, Jackson was leading this race for quite some time, so that cost him a lot there down on pit lane, even if he didn't need too much time getting that front wing repaired. Ooh, and a couple more of our leaders. Robert Northway is in, and it looks like Garen Batten follows.
We got Jasper Eriksson up on the inside. Beautiful. Trying to get that pass done. Was talking about it, but unfortunately wasn't able to get it Smith going and locking down the inside line, ensuring they can try and protect as much as possible. But the question comes in, who's going to have that fast pit stop? Ooh, Robert Northway reversing in pit lane to try and get himself sorted out. That's going to cost him time.
It is very costly. The speeds are so high here. Even if you just add an extra second to the pit stop, it can mean a massive amount of track length once they get back out and up to speed. And the other thing, too, is you need to be up towards the very front of the field if you want to take a pit stop and stay on the lead lap. Otherwise, you're going a lap down. And if you get caught out, that can be so costly if a yellow comes out between you pitting and the drivers ahead of you not. So we have to wait patiently to see if we stay green through this section of racing.
Joshua Hampton going and battling out as well, trying to figure out where can he get this little bit of pace. Side by side they go, beautifully done. And I've got to say, nothing's better than seeing two Indy cars absolutely slug it out around the beautiful circuit of Indianapolis. The crowds are loving it, we're loving it, the drivers are loving it, but the pressure is mounting for every single one of these teams of how far are they willing to push it. Ericsson setting the fastest lap time of the race while leading it with Strauss running in second place.
I'm very impressed with how many drivers have saved as much fuel as they have. We still need about 10 of them that need to pit, and we're 35 laps in. Like I said, this is usually about the extreme length of what you're going to see for most drivers. So let's see if the rest of them file on in, as Jesper Ericsson is the one still out right now. And indeed, he comes on in. Strauss follows him. Partridge. Is Fredrickson going to be able to? No, Fredrickson has to go. I was going to say, I'd be amazed if anybody goes past 35 laps. And so it looks like, oh, we got one. We got one who has a light right foot. It is Daniel Holmer, the only driver able to make it 36 laps.
Daniel Holmer is not backing down, now just trying to keep into the tow of all the cars ahead of him, maybe to save a little bit more in the fuel. And Partridge needs to also try and figure out where he can get a little bit more pace underneath him. Ericsson, who set the fastest lap time, will now have to be very, very concerned because Holmer is getting a great run around the circuit and a bit more spacing to the rest of the field.
So Fredrickson, oh, this is difficult coming out side by side. It's very single file on the exit lane here as you try to get back up to speed, and he has to give way. Holmer finally coming in, and it looks like he will make it to his stall. I was kind of wondering, is he actually going to get there? And yes, he stretched the fuel enough and reached his pit stall. Now, Ericsson has emerged still in the lead. Interesting. Okay. The 37, I want to say he was much farther down. Wasn't he around 8th or so before this sequence started?
See, he was. That's the most intriguing thing. He was all the way down, was waiting and biding his time, and then it just seemed like he put the hammer down, clawed his way back towards the top. But I want to just say, for the likes of Holmer, he's definitely won the Eco Award, hands down.
Just amazing stuff. Holmer's going to return in what looks to be about 18th spot. Now, if you're wondering, why is the fuel saving so important? Why is going farther going to be so critical to these drivers? Well, that opens up your strategy options. If you pit earlier, that can mean that you have less fuel than those around you sometimes. So going longer means that you can continue to go longer, and it just builds and builds and builds. And that means you might just need a splash and dash at the end, while everybody else needs to take half a tank or something to get to the finish of this race. And that can wind up being the difference between a win and a 10th place. By the way, Sebastian Jackson 2 laps down from that incident. And this isn't NASCAR, Steven. They don't have lucky dogs here. He's going to have to get back on the lead lap the hard way.
It's just going to be an absolute nightmare. You've got to try and keep your foot in it. And it's also not like Formula One where blue flags, mind out the way sort of approach comes into play. You're going to have to get in, you sink your teeth into the fight and really try and pull your way through. And I mean, that has just been a costly one if you think about it. Braking into the pits and it just all binds. And you've got to also talk about driver mentality then comes in, because you're frustrated at the time and you are just going, come on, what do I need to do to make this thing work? What do I need to do to move forward? Unfortunately, that's going to cost you even more time and precious seconds arguing with oneself.
Robert Northway is not lost his touch with that high line. Once again, he manages to move around Jeff Schmeier, and that's back up into ninth, but he's a long ways down from where he was before. I think some of that due to the fact that he missed his pit stall. And, you got interesting note here. It looks like from our producer, Jackson came down to the pits a second time, we're hearing? I'm not sure if that's accurate. I only see one visit to pit lane, unless he sped and maybe just had a drive-through.
That might have been an absolute nightmare for him. And talk about a race going from bad to worse, if that's the case, going and landing up further down the order. If you think about it, he was leading the race at one point, and to land up going back into pit lane for a drive-through, the frustration that must be underneath that helmet, it is just, you can't even measure it.
It was indeed a drive-through penalty. And I can see confirmation now. He's missing some laps. That usually is a telltale sign that he had a black flag. So, really unfortunate. That is not handed out by the stewards. They have live stewards in this series, so they will be watching for drivers who are not behaving out here. But that was handed out by the sim itself. If you get a speeding penalty, the sim will handle it automatically and give you a drive-through. So that's why he is 2 laps down right now, not just due to him taking the repairs. Currently last on the field, 36 out of 36 at this stage. Considering he was leading at one point and started from third, it's making for a long day right now.
I mean, this has been a huge, huge running order. And I've got to say, really, really impressive. So far, all cars that started are accounted for. 42 laps in, and everyone is still nose to tail. First place is still on the cards, but take a look at Ulrich Smith, who is really into the chase now, trying to pick up the pace. Crow just ahead of him, not breaking away all too quickly. And we got the likes of Ericsson just ahead, trying and looking in his mirrors, saying, all right, where do I need to pick up some pace? Where do I need to go to try and break away from this? But Smith is not holding back. Going to get right into the toe, pull himself along just a little bit more, and I think in the next 2 laps we're going to see him pull the trigger.
Certainly is looking like we've got a bit of a group forming up at the front, trying to see how far it goes back. Those top 4 definitely closer, but we go all the way down to 10th. Oh, and we got a yellow, our first yellow of the day, and I think that was Jeffrey Mathon in the 605, because I saw him suddenly send it to pit lane. So we're going to slow down for the first time, and it's a little bit too early for more pit stops. We'll see who decides what. And I believe this is coming out of turn 2 that the 605 had his issues.
Definitely a tough time for many, but strategies call for it as the cars all back up behind our safety car. Now it's all about maintaining tire temperature to get yourself going. This is Jeffrey. See what happened. Oh, catches a wall on the high. And coming down, hard impact. Man, oh man. That is an ugly, ugly crash.
I'm really glad that we're sim racing, because in real life that would have been just catastrophic. And turn 2, exit of turn 2, definitely a common one to see drivers just drift that little bit too high, wind up in the wall. And unfortunately, it does tend to bounce you back across the track, even in real life as well. Okay, so we slow up, and I think the pitch should be open this time by who's going to come in. Ericsson implying that he intends to come in. Will he actually? And the answer is yes. Okay. In fact, much of the field looks to be coming in. I see Puteklis deciding to gamble and stay out, get some track position. Hutchison stays out. Van Gastel is going to stay out. Walker is going to stay out. So just a tiny handful for the most part. Seems like most drivers willing to try and top up on fuel at this stage.
As the drivers that preferred to stay out, those are the drivers that were last into pit lane. So they are just trying to keep things going. And instead, this is a worst case scenario for them. I've got a funny feeling we may see them try and push that a little bit harder once we go back under green conditions. But for those that have pitted, well, you're back into the pack, you're trying to get yourself sorted out, and you've also out of position from where you once were.
Yeah, I'm looking, and the driver with the most laps of that front group is Pateklis at 12. Van Gastel has 11, so they only made it about a third of the way through the stint. That does make sense why they decided they're going to try and just hold it out and see if getting that track position will help them. Pateklis actually was in the front group, so his is a little more surprising, but Hutchison, Van Gastel, Walker, they were mired farther back in the field, so they want some clean air. And they're going to make a strategic call while everybody else is going to open up their further strategic options, now knowing that they will basically be able to have a much longer stint this time. So here's where it gets interesting, Stephen, is these drivers that did not pit, if this stays another long green, they have a much longer period where they're going to be potentially a lap down from the leader if they have to pit under green.
That's going to be an absolute nightmare. But once again, you've got to roll the dice to either make it work for you or not. This is a championship that you're in, not only just to be in this incredible event. It's also, you got to think about the long run. How far do you need to climb? This stage of the championship, you're already starting to figure out who are you racing against and who you're not racing against as well. So I've got a funny feeling being a lap down might not be a bad thing. If you're sitting in 12th, 13th in the championship and you look at the other drivers around you, you might have enough spacing to keep up the climb.
Lights are out, so we're going racing on lap 47. So already almost a quarter of the way through this event. Glad to see that we've gotten lots of green flag racing so far. Let's cross our fingers it'll carry on like that. And still have 33 of the 36 on the lead lap. So plenty still in contention on this one. But as it starts to get closer to the end, you don't want to be farther down that order of 33. You want to be up towards the front. But first goal, Stephen, is just get to the finish, get towards the end of the race so that you have a shot at it.
So I'm just worrying about the restart, because this is where you got to get your head back into the game. You got to get focused. You got to get ready. Take that deep breath. And once the lights go green and you are racing, you're going to have to get all the adrenaline back under control and focus on the long run. There's still plenty of laps left in this race. And considering this is just a full-on restart, you're all chasing for the same thing, to go for the checkered flag as they launch off the green. And it is going to be a big run for the 666.
A decent run as it goes back to green for sure. And he keeps Wayne Hutchison behind him. First of the pitters, Alex Crow now in the group. And he's actually going to be overtaking a lapped car, it looks like, as we see Jesper Eriksson then fall behind. Actually, no, Jesper Eriksson, that was for position. So Crow moves up as Walker, or Eriksson moves up as Walker now the next one on his list. Going to try and get into those top four as we jump back to Matthias Strauss now, sitting in 9th position. He's looking for a pass on Tarazi in the 609, but nothing doing. And guess who's behind him? Oh, as he goes wide on the exit and somehow carries his way past.
That was absolutely incredible. And I think even Garen sitting behind was a bit taken back by it as Partridge now closed back up onto him. I mean, that was just absolutely incredible. But once again, car control, knowing how close you can go to the wall, knowing where you need to put the power down and how far you can really get the push is just incredible stuff. As Garen up into 10th place, now trying to travel that little bit more into the slipstream, a little bit out just to try and cool the car down, put a bit of pressure on that front nose before entering the corner, just to make sure everything's a little bit more settled. But you can see little micro movements in the steering wheel. Don't want to get too aggressive, otherwise it's just going to end up badly.
Yeah, it is fascinating, just the minute inputs that are needed in this style of racing. You don't want to see big things, and you can always tell tiny differences from them just by the smallest of movements of who is experiencing what out there. Well, back onto the main straight we go to hit lap 50 now, officially a quarter of the way through this 500-mile race. Just got to do that 3 more times.
Just got to keep the power down. And Ericsson, once again, fastest lap time of the race, a 40.7, trying to pick up the pace and really climb his way back up the ladder. Sitting in 4th at the moment, with Gassil just ahead of him, trying to run away. Not for too much longer, I don't think.
A little move up high from Eric Smith there. He's working on Ryan Walker, as I mentioned, the Scot, one of the drivers to have won this race before in the majors. And they've obviously had multiple winners because of the mini splits they run, as there is a little look to the inside from Smith, but decides to back out of it. Remember, this is top split of multiple races happening right now in the majors. They have a lot of drivers that try to compete in this, so you have to be pretty good just to get and qualify your way into this top split.
And that's where you've got your pre-quali to get yourself sorted, on top of the mandatory 30 laps needed to be able to continue on. Well, that's on top of the many laps you have to put in to just get these cars sorted and under control, to wrap it around your head that you are going to be absolutely giving it horns. You're going to be right up against your competition, and one little move can be the matter of first or last place.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more important races of the season here in the majors, and the drivers will spend a lot of time perfecting those setups and just trying to get the lap just to get into the big show. And now that they're here, they're trying to get that ultimate prize and get themselves in victory lane. Garen Batten moving into 9th now, past Tarazi as he sneaks inside of turn 3. Ryan Walker also, by the way, up 13 positions right now. So yes, he's on slightly older tires, but he's slipped down a bit, but he's still managed to make up a lot just by this late call. Question is, how far will he go? It's going to be more than 35, most likely, because he had those caution laps to help him out. And he's 17 laps into this stint, for what it's worth, as we got a car off and down to the inside. That was definitely a hit, and that was Northway, our former leader, who finds himself now losing multiple positions, but you have to wonder, how damaged is the car?
Ran up a little bit too high, and unfortunately, like Icarus, got too close to the sun to get burned. Trying to figure out where he can get a little bit more pace, but I wonder if that was a split in judgment of just, I can move a bit closer. Was it a little bit of a take a breath and move up, or did the car slip underneath him?
It could be any number of things. Could have been aero wash that he just was not expecting at that phase. That's very much a thing in the sim, just like in real life, and sometimes you get to see the car wash up. In fact, I think that's part of what we saw with our one caution there with Mathon, just finding himself not expecting the car going up to the outside of turn 2. Whew. Northway, as we see the replay. Let's get another look here. He's right up on top of the car in front of him. He's trying that outside line once again. Is he still side by side? No, he's going to cut down, but there's that aero wash. Ooh, just glanced it. He's very lucky, though, that he didn't completely hit the inside wall. He managed to catch it in time.
My heavens, that is definitely not ideal, and definitely has got him taking a deep breath and having to refocus. And this is one thing you don't want to see, because we always talk about the car having the accident. You as a competitor are now rushing. You see a car catch a wall, shoot all the way down to the left-hand side. You've got to also start thinking, do I need to lift to try and protect myself? So it has a domino effect through the field.
Really does. As Garen Batten trying to work his way back up through those dominoes. He's been working on Ryan Walker now. Garen, one of the few hailing from Club Australia, New Zealand. Not often seeing them over here in the Americas. In fact, let me see. We've got him, and Northway is the other one, interestingly. Otherwise, it's mostly Europe and North America that are competing in today's race. But is going to try and represent well for his other Antipodeans, and he continues to try and gain on the Scot in front of him.
Well, Garen's got also a bit of a history of being a safety car driver in the Majors Endurance Championship, going and helping out with that, being race control and being a safety car driver. Well, now he gets to put his foot down every so often and have some fun here in the Majors Championship. I mean, this is the main one you want to go for, to go through the entire championship, to test your skills, to around some of the best drivers in the world, and make sure that you can walk home with that beautiful medallion that only very few get to hold.
Here, another one of those, which is not a surprise, at least for those of us that know dirt racing. Also very good on the dirt oval side of things, as there's a big scene down in Australia and New Zealand for dirt oval racers as well. In fact, you'll often see for their off season, they come to the United States, and then for North American drivers, they'll often go down to Australia for our off season. So just kind of makes a chance for everybody to stay sharp when they're not racing in the winter.
Well, Ericsson up into third place now, gone past Gasil, but now got a mountain to climb to catch up to Hudson a bit, who is really on the climb to try and pick up some pace. And this is Tom Gust, who is making his way through. So Tom, just going down on that apron, gets all out of shape, brings it back. But definitely that left front is going to be hurting. The rears are definitely going to be hurting. And he is going to be taking some big breaths.
Tom needs to buy a lottery ticket after that one. That was a good catch. Very lucky that the car is not a heap at the side of the road at this stage. But yeah, he is far down after that, all the way in 30th. So some work to do from there. Back to Ryan Walker once again within the top 10. And Batten already long past him and all the way up into 8th position. So continuing to climb, while Ryan, now on lap 34, May has about a dozen more laps, and he'll probably have to come in from there.
We did see one of the cars sitting in pit lane. I wonder if that was Sebastian that went into pit lane again.
It is. Because good catch.
Oh, Jingos. Not having the best of races, and unfortunately falling down the order even more. And that's just going to be pure frustration kicking in.
I wonder if he's at the end of his stint, because he's also on kind of his own unique pitch strategy from before. Oh, we got a caution. Oh, did that cost him another lap? Man, he would have had a good chance to maybe stay out and get one of his laps back. I'm trying to figure out who caused this yellow, though.
All the teams are going to get...
Again? Sorry to cut in. I think it was the same driver. I think it was Jeffrey Mathon.
Oh, no, please no. That would be an absolute nightmare. You think about it, had everything going for him, and after having a bit of a rough run, to suddenly hit the wall again, it's not going to be great. But all the teams slowing down, you'll notice that they do split apart, moving left and right, and the pure for that is try and cool these cars down. Being in the slipstream for so long, you land up building so much temperature within the engine, the water temperature climbs through the roof. But let's take a look. This is Jeffrey, and it is Jeffrey Mathon landing up, getting, lost.
That's a weird one. That was on the straightaway. I wonder if he was maybe trying to adjust something in the cockpit. That's so bizarre.
Little movement to the right. Maybe he thought it was a bit further away from the wall, but I have to say, you're possibly right. There could have been a slight little bit of adjustment there. But once again, car into the wall and needing vast bits of repair. You can see the carcass sitting in pit lane, but the entirety of the field looks like it's going to be coming into the pits to get themselves done and dusted. This is going to be a very busy pit exit.
And I believe this works out beautifully for Ryan Walker, who should be able to pit and get back on strategy with everybody else, essentially, and not lose track position. Garen Batten, is he going to be our first out? No. Going to be Jesper Eriksson once again, leading Protectless, and Hutchison emerging in third. This time, though, nobody stays out to try and gamble, so it is all going to be our normal call for everybody and not giving us any sort of odd balls out. The other thing that we have to remember is SimRacing that it has very different from, of course, real racing. And in real racing, Stephen, you don't necessarily have the doorbell or maybe the cat begging to be fed to distract you. So there's all kinds of things that could have happened that we just aren't privy to that may have caused this strange incident.
I think, Joe, this is more leaning on you. You went and brought out the immortal words of, well, it's not going to be the safety car again. And unfortunately, commentator's curse is a real thing.
See, my theory on the commentator's curse is I am not the cause. I am but a vessel for the racing gods. They decide what happens from there. So,
okay.
Yeah. It's how I remain blameless. But
okay, fair enough.
It does slow things down. This is a little bit quicker than what we saw before because it was lap 43 or so, I think, that we saw the first yellow come out. And this is now lap 62. So we only got about 20 some odd laps into this race before we slow down again. But for Mathon, this does mean that I think he's going to be out of this race because he used that spare car. Now he just has to sit and wait for it to be repaired. Now he can get back out, but it's likely going to be very, very slow. And all he's going to be able to do is just kind of putter around many laps behind.
That's not a bad thing. And this is where my mentality kicks in. If you've seen the green, you see the checkered. Try and get that car around. Yes, you're going to be a bit slower. You're going to be out of position completely, but at least you get to see the end. By throwing in the towel, taking off that helmet, walking off, it just doesn't work out for you. And it sits in the back of your mind of what if. And you don't know if anyone else is going to run into further complications that may go and give you a point or two. The only way you're going to know of what's to happen is by finishing the race. The big win, however, is Aldous in second place. We've got to talk about him because he's been in an incredible run, holding second place at the moment, was previously leading.
Yeah, he's got himself in a very good position as it looks like we're getting ready to restart already. Ericsson will lead him back to the green flag. But yeah, you'll notice a difference between those who are just in for the one-off and those who are in for the championship in the majors, because those in for the championship will try to get back out on track to gain those points. Ericsson takes the green flag. Protectless will follow him, and definitely less of a jump for Jesper this time than we've seen in the restart and the initial start of this race, where it seemed like the leader got a huge one. In fact, Protectless gets a run out of turn one, makes the pass in the short chute, another spot that you rarely see overtakes.
Oh, Protectless not holding anything back, and take a look at Hudson, who gets on pass. This is not going in Ericsson's favor at the moment, and up on the inside, beautifully done. What a run for Wayne.
Third to first, basically in a single corner there for Wayne Hutchison. And Protectless is going to say, all right, two can play at that game. And it's on. This is the first time we'll have seen this back and forth, because before we saw just singular lead swaps and drivers try to stay patient. But Uldis, he doesn't want to. He wants to be up in the front, and he'll take that lead back from Wayne.
It's who wants to be on camera the most at this point. These two are going hammer and tongs. Wayne trying to keep in that toe, pulling himself up a little bit, and Ericsson dropping back a little bit at 2.4 second, or 0.2, and Crow getting onto the back of him as well, as we do see Protectless starting to open up that gap just a little bit more, feeling the pressure at this point.
We got a caution. Matthias Strauss has had an incident, I think, in the short chute between 3 and 4. That's on the north end of the circuit. And I think he had a little bit of help, unfortunately.
Just as you start to get your teeth in, I mean, this is just going to be this is difficult. You get into that restart, you get going. But here is Strauss. Just the rear getting clipped. And that's all that she wrote. Hard impact into the wall. That was against number 4 by the looks of it.
Yes, that was Eric Smith. Oh, no, it was a 556, it looks like, that he made contact with. So Strauss, just like you said, getting the tiniest of touches And unfortunately, it's too difficult to bring it back from the brink in that situation. Matthias still has the spare car, but he was not able to drive it back in, so he's at least going a lap down. And he's going to have a hard time getting back in this race, which is a shame because he's been a solid runner in the mid-pack. At times, I think we've seen him near the top 10. So this will definitely be harmful for his hopes of getting a race victory. It looks like the 556 actually of Smith also going to get our first penalty from the live race stewards, EOL, for causing the caution. So he's going to be sent to the back, and that'll be behind Patrick Kopp and put him into 32nd rather.
Not quite what you want to be getting, and having the stewards waving the proverbial finger at you for getting it all out of wrong. So dropping all the way back. And unfortunately, there's nothing more that you can do about it other than take it on the chin, try and refocus, and get back into the race.
Do see a couple gamblers. Scott Kukas is in, looking like he's taking a splash of fuel. Paul Nicholson, Patrick Kopp as well. Or Kopp might actually be, because he's 20 seconds into his stop. So I think he's getting damage repairs, interestingly. Not sure if he got caught up in that incident. Michael Hogg as well. That's a bit strange. Both of them taking very long stops now. But I'm not too shocked. Some of the drivers towards the very back of the pack just getting a little bit of fuel to maybe open up their options farther down. This is Pim Van Gastel seeing the incident in front, thankfully able to easily clear and not be a part of the drama.
Definitely took a breath there, going and seeing the whole accident ahead of him. But Smith going down the order painfully so at this point, 28th position. And nothing's more frustrating than just watching all the cars go by. Very reminiscent of the Spa races where you go down the endurance pit lane on the pit limiter and just hearing the entire field come past you. The frustration that starts to build of, come on, let me go, let me go, let me go. But the hard work is going to be trying to climb back into that top 10 or even the top 15 by the end of this race.
Yeah, you need a bit of luck, honestly, to come your way to get laps back, as it looks like the lights are out on the pace car. So we're going to be going back to green flag racing on lap 69 of this 200-lap event. And it is still Protectless who's going to be leading the way instead of Jesper Eriksson, who got shuffled down to third on that last restart. So Uldis has kind of made motions that he's going to defend a little bit hardier than those around him. Does that mean we'll see more battling? Or, Stephen, will we see Hutchison, Eriksson, Crow decide, all right, he's going to fight for it. Let's just stay patient. Let's save some fuel in this stint.
Well, would you like the manager side of things, or would you like the race fan side of things?
Give us both.
I would like to see the fight between Uldis and Wayne go and duke it out properly. Eriksson also to get into the fight as well. From manager's perspective, single file, keep it together, still a long race, work on that fuel management, because now fuel and tires are going to be a little bit better, try and carry it longer into the race. But as a big fan, I want to see that swapping in and out, in and out. What we saw heading in through the chute, I want to see it all over again. Let's bring some more cars into that action.
Let's see what we're going to get as we come into turn 4. Drivers eager to try and fight now. It's still very early for go time, but maybe they want that track position. Maybe they want that clear air, as pace car should be peeling in. There it goes. Protectless now has control of the field, and he goes early. He catches Wayne napping just a little bit, and he starts to pull away. He does not want to give him a chance. Now, he's not going to be able to break the slipstream completely, but at least he is going to give him a run for his money on the first couple corners.
Uldis hoping that he can just try and get a little bit of fresh air and leave Eriksson to deal with Wayne, as they will get extremely close. But Crow falling a little bit further back down the order. Ryan Walker, though, round the outside, trying everything he can, pick up a bit more pace, and will have to dig his teeth in for the fight. Getting stuck on the high line is not going to be an easy feat as he tries to get on by and get as much traction out of the corner as possible as they try and get those tire temps back within operating temperatures.
So close to the wall on these corner exits, but yeah, Walker just outside the top 10 and very much in a good position with his pit strategy paying dividends. Pim van Gastel sitting in 6th, going side by side with Garen Batten, but the current championship leader will shut the door and hold on to that 5th place. To answer our question from before, Hutchison and Ericsson looking like they're going to stay patient behind the leader.
It's a bit of a unique way of doing it. Robert Northway, though, in 12th position, trying to make his climb back up through the order. Don't count him out. Was running in the top 3 for quite some time. He enjoyed going in with some very adventurous overtakes, but looks like the damage on the car is more superficial than not, and he's still in for the fight.
That's true. Yeah, he's still on the lead lap, and not just that. He is to the upper mid-pack, I guess you could call it, in this group, trying to get back to the lead group and get himself a chance to try and win this race. That car in front of him right now, that is Ryan Walker, who we've been talking about. Both of them eager to try and make up a few spots, get to where they were briefly. You can see how close they get to the wall. Those sparks that we're seeing is a bit of net code, most likely. That's the cars not actually touching, but at times the server gets a little bit confused because it's interpreting them as maybe getting close enough to touch.
Oh, I'm just amazed at how low they're getting down towards the apron. The curb and the grass is just an absolute killer if you go and touch it. So many of the drivers just flirting at the moment with it. But take a look at Wayne, out in 2nd place, starting to make up some time. He's got Aldous just ahead of him. Looks toward the inside line, backed out of it, and now Ericsson hoping to go back onto the attack, get a bit more of a climb. And this is going to be hugely beneficial because Ericsson sitting in the top 3 is going to move him up in the points if he can maintain it with the likes of Trevor and Garen further down through the field.
Vesper right on the heels of Hutchison down into turn 1, then lifts a little bit. So we take a look at Garen Batten, our pole sitter, sitting in 5th now as he dropped down a little ways earlier on in the race. And drivers pretty single file. This is, in fact, I think the least action we've seen in some time in this race. So yeah, a lot of them looking like they're thinking big picture at this stage. We're at lap 73, getting ready for lap 74, so not even quite to the halfway mark of this event. They know there's still a number of other pit stops, as most of them at this stage have done 3, just our small handful that have done 2 that stayed out during our second yellow. Or no, it was our first yellow, I think.
Our first yellow, most stayed out. 3rd yellow, we landed up with a whole tire field coming through. I got a bit of a question though. Inside the car, what are the drivers able to do to try and maximize their fuel usage, to try and keep a bit of life into those tires? At this point, now you're starting to eliminate that. Oh, big spin! He's got it. Oh, just catching the wall. Very, very close. That could have turned really ugly, but he's able to keep it going. But how much damage is on that rear suspension? How much damage to the rear aero has that car got underneath it as he tries to get himself going yet again? You can see how momentum is an absolute killer. He slots back in, and now the hard work comes in. Whew, big moment.
Unbelievable stuff. Now he gets to find out, like you said, if the suspension is damaged. And because I don't think he hit the gearbox, so I don't think it would have hurt the aero. So far, back up to speed. Vavrovsky with one of the most amazing saves I think I've ever seen at this track in the IR18. Yeah, he is back and going. I think he has miraculously gotten away with it. He did touch the wall, but somehow, just unbelievable. Okay, and he touched the right front corner as well a little bit.
I think second-hand pair of tires, one owner, been driven up the road and back, not at high speed. Anyone wants it? Any takers?
Yeah, his saving grace is that they don't have flat spots on iRacing yet. So he is able to carry on. They are going to be a little hot for a while, but I think he'll be able to get away with it. But he's out of position, and he doesn't want to take an early pit stop to put himself a lap down because we're only 14 laps into this. So he's got to wait a little bit longer.
Just wondering, with going and getting a side like that, he's taken quite a bit of life out of the tires, where everyone's going to have a little bit more grip towards the end. You're going to start wondering, looking back at your first stop when you went and changed tires, if you're sitting on 40% left of tire life, you can minus at least 20% off that from the slide itself. That's also going to lean into it, and is the car going to feel a little bit more loose underneath him? Is that understeer going to creep in? What's going to happen? Because ultimately, you did take life out of those tires with a huge sideways moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And Trevor going to be thanking he's got that experience on the oval side to help him out on this one. Has been competing in the majors since 2016. So coming up on 10 years that he has been racing with this group.
I think he's taken 10 years off his life with that slide. That's for certain.
Certainly going to feel like it. His nerves are going to be just a bit frayed after that, but he's certainly settled in quite quickly. Still running 27th as we check back in with Jesper Eriksson. Top 3 have not run away. Alex Crow's still in there. Garen Batten. Looks like Pim Van Gastel. Where do we have our first break? We really don't. It's interesting. We've got a whole lot of cars, it looks like, up at the front, all the way down into the 20s, that are all just about equidistant apart. If they're not a quarter of a second apart from one another, they're maybe 6 or 7 tenths apart. So, yeah, this race is just kind of everybody just waiting and looking to see what's going to happen. The draft is keeping them well enough within the group. Although looking at Northway here, yeah, here we go. We got a break. This is Daniel Thomas behind him by about 1.5 seconds. That's the biggest we've got at this stage.
Robert Northway, unfortunately, in a bit of no man's land at this point, hasn't got the slipstream ahead of him, and he hasn't got anyone to play with behind. As we cut to a replay, this is Ryan Walker. Oh, hard impact into the wall, throwing him down towards the apron. He's able to bring it back, but that is definitely not what you want to be having, and really making sure those tie rod ends are built like an absolute brick. Otherwise, they're going to fold up and cause a real exciting moment for you.
And he doesn't have a black and orange flag, so he's gotten away with it on that front. It's just, I don't know if this has hurt his speed necessarily. Let me see here. Last lap was a 42.7, which I think was the one where he had that incident. 42.3, so that's maybe just a hair slower. We'll see if he's able to pick it back up.
I've got to say, we've seen Ryan has been very consistent across the board, and little moments like that is not too common for him as he tries to push himself out a little bit more. I've been fortunate enough to race in a couple of races with him, and it's always that consistent driver that never breaks under pressure. So to see a little misfortune coming his way is not often, but he is losing a bit of pace through the corners, and suddenly it's getting things a little bit trickier as Fredriksson right behind it will be trying to push that a little bit harder.
In fact, Jesper Eriksson coming off a bit of travel as well. He was in Iceland for, I believe, a SimRacing competition up there, and doesn't sound like it went as well. His quote is, he hopes this one goes better. So far, so good. He's in the top 3. He's gained 11 positions. I'd say count that as pretty good.
Joe, do you have a wooden table in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sort of wood.
Well, make sure you hold on to it. Otherwise, you're going to have a chat with Jesper at the end of it, because, I mean, he's on an absolute rocket run at the moment, and you can keep the commentator's curse off to one side. I don't think that's going to be flat out being said. As Wayne, so close to that high line. Man, oh man, that corner exit just was a bit too close to the wall. Got the run, though. And Wayne's going to be seeing it in his left-hand mirror. And what a run. It's just phenomenal to see the top-tier talent that we have in the world and how they're able to push the maximum of the limits while racing is just incredible.
Wayne's another one that's been around for a long, long time, 2014 even, so he has been around for more than a decade in the majors. In fact, I think he's one of those Northwest Club drivers that was there since the beginning of this one. And yep, I can see it now. He is Northwest Club. A lot of them actually Troy Anderson, Trevor Vavrosky, Scott Kukas, Ray Partridge, all amongst that Northwest contingent. But Wayne Hutchison has yet to have a win in this series, though. 147 starts. He's only had 7 top 5s as well in his career. So, crossing fingers, Wayne could use a real fairy tale story here that his first could be a glass of milk.
It's going to be a bit of a tough call as Ryan's got some company on him. Diving up on the inside, Ryan down in position, trying to slot back in to just defend as much as possible. Not the perfect run for him. Unfortunately, now having to just be a bit of a sandwich at the moment. This is not too bad to be in, as you can now get pulled along and also refocus, but might not have that going into the next quarter. Yep, down into 17th position.
So we are now about a third of the way through this stint, a little bit more than that. We're getting close to where drivers are going to have to start thinking, when are we coming in? Not yet, obviously, but they're going to have to try and plan it out, see how this works if we stay green for this one. Josh Hampton going for a move down to the inside as he gets underneath Michael Hagstrom. Take that spot. Hagstrom might lose another from Fernandez, who is also going to poke his nose, but gets chopped off. Has the lift coming off the corner so he doesn't wash up into the wall.
That's definitely also going to take just a few little Ks out of your top end and allow the rest of the field to go. And Tom trying to pick up the pace as well. He's been in a fight of note, lying in 24th position in the tow and just hoping that he can pick up just a little bit more positions on the way through. Goodbye down in 19th position, looking to get into a 3-way fight.
3 wide doesn't usually go well, but they somehow make it work down into turn 1 as Tarazi looking very gutsy here. Strauss continuing to watch, but Strauss, remember, is a lap down. He's trying to get his lap back after getting tipped off to the inside and being involved in an incident. Carlos Fernandez also getting in the thick of things there from 21st. And getting himself a spot. Absolutely
incredible stuff as they're all darting around, trying to figure out what's going to be the ideal line. Ryan getting a little bit hairy, trying to figure out if he can gain a position here. It's going to be a bit of hard work. Stay on the power as long as you can to just try and stay into the fight. The problem is you've got so much happening in your mirrors as well that you're focusing not only on the car ahead of you, your lines, but also everything that's happening behind you. As soon as you start seeing 2-3 wide in your mirrors, you don't want to be caught out, and you're having to both defend and go on the attack. And all it takes is one foul move to go and lose out a bit of time.
Yeah, we saw it looking back off of Ryan. That was Tarazi there, who had a huge run, but just ran out of it. And you're right, you got to be so aware coming down into the corner that if there's a car there, you don't want to chop across his bow and cause you both to wreck out very suddenly, as it's Gabor instead who is having to watch out for Matthias Strauss, who wants to get some of his laps back and just can't seem to have the pace to really go by them quite easily. So he has to back off and wait till later maybe for a yellow or something of that ilk that he can stay out as others pit in. But he's going to have less and less chance on that here soon, because we're coming up to that pit stop very soon. We're on to lap 28 as they cross the line of this stint.
Only 2 cars lying in pit lane after previous incidents. Now just having to wait it out as Ulrich Smith going and diving up on the inside. Got a lot of momentum, but can he keep it? Unfortunately, not getting his nose chopped off nice firmly there. He needs to remain on the power, try and move out of that 22nd position.
Eric Smith in that P22. One of those that was sent backwards for a little bit as he caused the incident earlier on. Was given an end-of-line penalty. But he's been doing a good job of getting back into the hunt. As ahead of him, we got a little bit of a battle as well. That's going to be Fernandez on Hampton, and Hampton will still hold tough around the outside and will stay in that 20th spot. That costs some momentum for Fernandez. Drifts up just in front of Eric Smith, who has to lift big time.
And Smith is going to be trying everything he can, smelling blood in the water. Looks for the inside. Unfortunately, not close enough. He's gone for the high line, though, to try and get the run out. And let's see if it's going to pay dividends on the way through. High line yet again. Got the pace. Gets into the slipstream, pulling himself along. And it's going to be a tough call. Commits to the inside line. Is he going to be able to get the run? Oh, unfortunately not. Losing just that little bit of time. You can see absolutely wanting it, clawing for it, saying, come on, give me that opportunity, give me that gap. Once again, Highline gets the nose chopped off and needs to keep on the power all the way through. I mean, this is just incredible racing right now.
Eric Smith is eager to get by, but seems to lack the pace to try and make it stick, as Fernandez is now going to be on the attack again. Hampton did this before, is able to hold that middle line, and just drifts off a little bit better. Momentum not in favor of Fernandez, although it makes him vulnerable. Here we go. Eric Smith, this is what he's been looking for, but he doesn't have the straight line speed. Too much downforce on the car, and Fernandez just is denying him each and every corner. This has got to be frustrating for Smith.
Having to put the power down, looking for the inside once again. If he could just line his nose up on the inside, try and force a lift off the apex. And once again, just not able to. That top end, not there. That 1 kilometer that you need, but great exit. Maybe what he needs. Trying to line it up. Gets nice and close to the apron. As we do see Aldous into the pit lane. He's got the run side by side. There we go. Perfect. Got the inside line to make it work. Can he hold the apex? Unfortunately not. Just losing it again.
I wonder if Eric, with the contact he made, remember, and he's going to actually clip the wall, does not wind up causing a yellow. But just as we saw, that was, I'm trying to see who that was exiting pit lane. I think that was Trevor Vrosky. No, Trevor's still out there. But somebody had just finished their pit stop, and I don't think it was Puteklis, who is the first to blink because he was leading this race. So he definitely was using up the most fuel of those around him. We got another driver diving in, though. Let's see who that is. That was Sebastian Jackson.
So
the
Jackson...
point I was... the point I was going to try and get to earlier is, I wonder if with the contact, if Smith has just the tiniest bit of damage on that front wing, and that's hurting his top speed.
I'm wondering if it's also a little gremlin in the back of the head of, don't put your nose in, just that little bit of caution. You know, when you have those type of exciting times, as we do see Smith, hard up against the wall. Wouldn't be too surprised if he's got a bit of aero damage. But I'm starting to think the little driver having that gremlin on the shoulder, that little voice that tells you, remember what happened last time, and you get that slight lift off the throttle just to ensure that you don't do it. So that goes and plays in the mind constantly.
It could be. I didn't hear what I thought was a lift. If it was incredibly subtle. But yeah, it could be definitely weighing on him. We got a number of drivers that are up to lap 35, so should see lots of them come in. Bart Mattia was the latest we saw in the background pitting in. Christian McCrelly as well, also taking a pit stop. All right, so who's going to be able to really master this under green flag racing? It's going to be so critical. Couple more now diving in.
Pit lane getting a little bit busier. Who can carry it through? And I wonder if Holm is going to be, once again, the best of the guys that are able to keep the fuel going and try and run it to the end of the tank. I mean, this is where I'm always so curious of who's got that light foot, who's that perfect driver to have in an endurance race that can save fuel through it all. And the Indy 500 is this, because you're spending 95% of your time absolutely flat out in competition, but that pit lane is looking busier than rush hour traffic.
Yeah, need your Scott Dixon skills in this one. And Also worth noting, we've hit lap 36. I forgot that we had those couple laps under caution when we started this stint, so that is helping some drivers. Hutchison going to be no longer our leader as he pits in, giving it to Jesper Eriksson now. More drivers in and out, down on pit lane. Alex Crow stays out. Garen Batten pits in. Daniel Holmer, who we know is very good on fuel, has pitted. Josh Hampton just coming in now.
This is interesting because Ericsson out in first place has got a lot to keep going and already everyone's snaking around Ericsson into the thick of it as he is now in the middle of the pack of everyone that's come out of the pits that's now trying to build up some heat into their tires, some momentum back up, and well, our leader having to figure out where he can go.
So Puteklis with a very early stop. Jesper Eriksson now pitting in. Yeah, it looks like the rest of the fields are going to come and take the fuel, can't go any farther. So Puteklis the first to blink. He is ahead of Hutchison, and my goodness, it's by a wide margin. It was maybe 0.8 of a second between them stationary in the pit stall, but it is almost 3 seconds apart on the track itself. This is what Puteklis has been wanting, to break that slipstream and be able to run away and run his own race. But obviously now he's gonna be locked in to those shorter stints if he's on his own.
Let's talk about a new name that's just taken it to the top of the board, and that's Tom Druling, who's out in first position. First time out in the top 3 all race long as we hit the halfway mark for the majors, and it's absolutely incredible running. Let's see if that 82 can keep on the power to try and keep in first place that little bit longer.
He just pitted in now, so only 33 laps for him. Not the longest stint by any stretch of the imagination. Tom must have kind of been out there on his own. And once he is in, which he is now, that means that Puteklis will officially lead this lap. Eriksson behind him, back up into second. Hutchison falls down to third. So Hutchison with a slightly longer stop compared to both Puteklis and Eriksson, and loses touch a little bit. In fact, Eriksson is also out of range of the slipstream of Puteklis. It is now a 2-second gap for the 666 car.
And be a proper run, but for Aldous, this is going to be an interesting run for his race. Currently a 1.9 second gap, starting to break down, but can start being a little bit more cautious. And this is where also you're going to be communicating with the teams, starting to run those calculations in your head. And when you start thinking, I need about 4.6 stops in this race, you're going to try and work out, can I make it 4? By giving a little bit of a lift, changing the engine mapping a little bit now that you've got that bit of spacing, and maybe moving the anti-roll bars to just try and save those tires that little bit longer.
And we are also officially halfway through this race now as well, passing lap 100. So I have to ask, Stephen, from what we've seen so far, I mean, who's got your eye? Who has stood out amongst this group? Because leading it halfway like Puteklis is doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be leading at the end.
I have to go towards the likes of Puteklis. He's been that underrated driver for the first little bit, suddenly picked up the pace, and then he's just been on the power the whole way through. So being on one of the better stops, I've got a funny feeling that 666 is going to be one to keep an eye out for, and is going to be having the milk at the end of the race. And your side, Joe?
I feel like Northway is one we got to watch out for, because he was up there early, and he's managed to move his way back up into 7th. So, yeah, he had a little hiccup, but let's see, does he still have the spare car? No, he's used his spare car. So he is a little bit under the gun on that one. But, I mean, those drivers who can, just slowly work their way back up through the field after a problem, those are the ones I feel like you got to watch out for. Northway, all the way back up to 7th now after he's smacked the wall. And I think he's going to have a very fast car.
Definitely got the pace and trying to push as hard as possible. It's going to be a close one. Ericsson looking to try and take it away. Remember that 1.8 second gap is now cut down all the way to 0.2 of a second as Jasper Ericsson looking to take the position. Remember, he's running third in the championship, so scoring major points here tonight is going to be the big one. The Teclis, on the other hand, is a little bit further down in the championship and is in no way in the fight for the top 3 for 2025.
No, it's gone away from a few major players, no doubt. Tom Treiling now 3 laps down. Of course, Sebastian Jackson, who looked pretty good, still a lap down. Matthias Strauss still a lap down, unfortunately. Trevor Vavrovsky still down there in 23rd and unable to get back up to the front. He definitely needs quite a bit of help, I think, at this stage with his big save that he had to have earlier on. But halfway there, halfway to go. So let's see how this race will continue to unfold and if we get any more twists in this tale that has already seen a number of unexpected developments.
Well, talking about it, we've already got one, a replay. Patrick Kopp going and losing it. Oh, big impact into the wall and down towards the lower wall. Big impact.
Kept it out of the racing line, so hence why we didn't see any full course yellow out of that. So we keep racing, but that's another one that is pretty done and dusted from there. Northway, well, he was in 7th. Now he's in 8th as Pim van Gastel, who is another driver I feel like could be a dark horse, has overtaken for that spot and also started 22nd. That's something that we should mention here for Pim. 15 positions gained in this race. He's looking pretty strong today.
Right, going and getting a little bit of a slide on the exit, just trying to bring it back, losing a little bit of time to Pim. You could see just doing everything he can to keep in the tow, but also not wanting to upset the car too much before the corners and really battling to keep it all in check. Losing out a lot of time through the corners, though. Doesn't seem like he's got the grip on him.
No, maybe just a little bit stuck here, finding the arrow wake too difficult to try and make the overtake. Kind of want to check. I'm going to look at the lap times of Puteklis versus Ericsson, because I think Uldis has been pulling away tiny bit by tiny bit. Oh, no, he hasn't. Excuse me. That has now changed. Puteklis, it was 2 seconds. Did he have an issue just now? Or has he caught traffic? I think,
they've got traffic. This is going to be a make or break, because how fast can you clear the traffic? For Jasper, he can go and box him in. So, Puteklis up on the inside, needs to keep it going. Jasper, on the other hand, has got to go and put his nose in, try and get that pass done and dust it. Just not finding the grip. And now losing out a little bit of time. Uldis going to keep going and keep it on the power. As Jasper finally able to make his way through. And that is our Baby Metal, who is finding out. Gotta say, love the Baby Metal cast. Always a huge, one of the fans of the band itself. But absolutely incredible stuff. Jasper not having too easy of time. Very close to the curb and off the apron there.
Yeah, you do not want to touch that rumble strip in these cars. They are not set up to handle that. And you can find yourself on the wall very, very quickly. So yeah, Jasper maybe need to tone it back a little bit on the turn in through turn 2. This is why, I was saying earlier, is how do you set up the car? Because, I mean, the answer, if you're fast, is, well, you set it up in clean air, right? Because if you're going to be at the front, then you can run away from people. But as much as you want to run away, as soon as we get long green flag runs like this, you hit the traffic and you need a car that can handle that dirty air as you try and overtake the slower cars.
Going boxed in, Alex Crow, beautifully done, up on the inside, just needs to keep it going. Just unfortunately dropped a little bit, and Wayne's able to get back out, but Alex nearly had an absolutely brilliant move of going and boxing Wayne in, and was able to try and get past to try and get that third place, but Wayne, going and having a great run, will maintain third at the moment, feeling the pressure of Alex right behind him.
Now, officially, we do have 4 retirements from what I can see. That is official in the sense that iRacing has clocked them as leaving the server. So Patrick Kopp, Jeffrey Forkolb, Michael Hagstrom, who I think is just recent, and Paul Nicholson are all officially out of this race. That said, we might have drivers that are still, Jeffrey Mathon, I think one of them, still sitting and waiting to get their cars repaired that might still need some work done and plan to get the car back out on track. That was a bit of a waft up the hill there from the car behind. I think that was Daniel Holmer. Yeah, it was Daniel Holmer who had to lift the throttle big time coming off of turn 3.
Exciting moments. And the one thing I've got to say about iRacing is mistakes like that where you get the car damaged is absolutely punishing. And it does feel like you're ordering parts all the way from California to try and get to Indianapolis, just going and big phone call, please bring it on the next Pantechnicon to get us back into the race. You just have to wait nice and patiently as the race goes on by.
Yeah, it's not automatic. That's what the free repair is for. Oh no, Walker had a problem. Car gets loose and a big save once again. This time for Ryan Walker. Some undecipherable Scottish probably being emitted inside the cockpit during that moment.
That, or you heard the sound of a Hoover going off. Just that suck of huge volume of air at one point. Absolutely great save all around. But Garrett trying to make his way back up through the order. Now having to battle out side by side and unfortunately dropping down. Garrett, got to remember, is on the climb. So far, championship is riding. He needs to beat Jasper, who is currently running in second place in this race.
So Garen knows his rival is up ahead, but he's not quite there. In fact, the gap between himself and Ericsson somewhere in the range of about 3 seconds right now, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but in oval racing, that is an eternity apart from one another. That's almost the whole of the back straightaway apart from one another.
Go and send snail mail to try and get through. But the leader of the championship down in 22nd position and not having the best race go. At the moment, circulating for points. Remember, came into this race on 894 points with Garen sitting on 864. But lying in 22nd position is not going to help that much. You're going to have to try and just keep it going. And I think it's waiting for the next caution to come out to try and close this train up again.
Yeah, which we've gone quite a while now at this stage. Last one was, we've around we restarted at lap 69 is what it was. So we might get close to 2 full stints before we see it again, as we're already on to lap, if you're protectless, lap 22. The one man that is probably not too happy about it going green because this is eating into his fuel saving. But surprisingly, he hasn't dropped back behind Ericsson. He's continued to try to lead this race.
Just been an incredible run at the moment. I've got a funny feeling he knows if Ericsson gets a bit of free air, it's going to be one to battle through. Because so far, Jasper Ericsson, if he's in free air, runs away from the rest of the field. But the moment that there's a little bit of pressure around, he's stuck in the middle, the pace tends to tap off that little bit and gives you some free room. Wayne, who's running in third place, I've got to say, great running on his part to try and stay within the fight. And we've got Crow in 4th, Batten in 5th, Trotsky down in 6th place, along with Gasil and Northway, your favorite driver, sitting in 8th, trying to make up a little bit of time and a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, but he's on his own right now. Van Gastel has run away from him. It's almost 2 seconds, so not nearly as fast as the 606 apparently, so it doesn't bode well for the 46 if he wants to have that speed. Also was checking on some stats for Protectless. I was surprised to find he has not had a win yet. This is start number 48 for him, and no victories at this point. Usually one of the very fast drivers out there. But today, this is a real good shot for him. The Latvian driver actually hailing from Germany, as he currently lives right now. Going to try and see if he can give Latvia a win here at good old Indianapolis. As we ride on board, you can see the speeds these cars, and this is just in race trim, 220 plus miles an hour. In qualifying trim, you're looking at 240 for the fastest cars.
Absolutely incredible, and you have to just hit the absolute perfect points time and time again. Otherwise, you're going to be dropping down the order like an absolute brick. You've got to be protecting the tires, and this is one thing I love about the open wheels compared to your normal tin top racing. You can actually start to see the graining on the tires. You can see if you're putting too much pressure on one side versus the other, and see where you need to protect the tires a little bit more. Where in tin tops, it's all covered. You're not worrying about it. And that's why the more modern prototypes have actually got cutaways in their side, over the wheel arches, just so drivers can also start seeing what those tires are looking like over time.
The other reason, interestingly, for those cutouts is, do you remember the Mark Webber incident at Le Mans, going flying up into the air?
Our pilots, yes.
Yes. Well, that was because of that moment. Is all the air getting caught underneath the car? They now cut those little holes in some of the various spots, and that prevents the car from getting too much of it caught underneath, and it won't sail off like a giant wing.
Louvers to make it all work. But we also got to remember that back in the day, you also had those tunnels that ran under the cars to create more suction, which is very reminiscent to what we got a similar thing in modern days, which you'll see off the back of these Indy cars, is actually your diffuser is just a smaller version of that. Faster you go, the more air that rushes by, the more suction you get, the better all it comes. But at the same time, the moment that you do lose that little bit of air, or you get a bit of a stall out in the back, especially in your setup, you land up going for a big spin. And that's one thing I gotta say, setup work is absolutely key, and it's very looked upon. Everyone wants to fix setup racing, but I've got to say, I enjoy my open setups. I love going and working on the setups. It's also when you start getting more of your professionally built setups, like from Major's Garage, then you can learn from pros of how they've managed to find those little nuances, and you too can go over to the Majors Garage. Make sure you use the promo code Majors GSRC to get 10% off. Highly recommended. And there's always the special events setups that come through, and I can tell you, I'm really itching to get the setups for the Majors 24 later this year.
Well, Uldis could maybe use a little bit of savings himself, because his fuel saving is not good. 28 laps on this stint, extremely short. Only thing I can think, let's see what is 9.3. Okay, so that's a normal stop. I was going to say, unless he's trying to break this up in even stints to the end to allow him shorter pit stops, I'm not sure why he's going so quickly. Northway is our other one that pitted this lap.
This is just a bit of an odd one. Robert Northway hoping they can get going, and also got to be very careful on pit exit, trying to get as up to speed as quick as possible. But you got to remember, a little bit of runoff sitting there with the grass, and all you need to do is tag it and go around and around and around. I mean, this is just a tough battle. Daniel Holm, though, a really impressive driver, has been a fuel saver at the start of the race, sitting in 11th, one position out of that top 10, and still trying everything possible to get back into the top 10. Fredriksson just ahead. His teammate going and keeping a good bit of gap as the two tow each other along.
Yep, so just outside the top 10 at this stage for the 79 car. About 14 seconds off the lead, which is right now Ericsson there in the 37, who's on lap 25 of this stint. So he's still got a long ways to go. But now he's lost Putekla, so he can't save as much fuel. So it's also kind of hurts the 37, although he's broken away from Wayne Hutchison, so that he at least doesn't have to worry about that. But he could use one of his teammates near him so that they can maybe swap out, or that if his teammate is a lap down, they could maybe ride in front, kind of Alexander Rossi style, and use that for a nice long stint. Bart Mattia is currently sitting in ninth, and that is Ray Partridge just in front of him, along with Daniel Thomas. Three-way fight for seventh.
Absolutely incredible. I've got to say, everyone talks about oval racing is all about turning left and it's not exciting. Well, so far, we've managed to see exciting racing, great side-by-side action, all the highs and lows of drama that you can ever get. Plus, you have so much math going on. Why is this not a subject in school? Learn how to do IndyCar racing, because you'll cover everything.
I was actually recently on a charity race, a call for a charity race here on iRacing. Raj Karuth, NASCAR driver, has a special program involved with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, that helps get students into those STEM programs through racing, involving it in racing. So yeah, no, I'm with you. There's so much that goes on that you can get people in. Ooh, as Bart had a huge moment there coming off of turn 3. There's, like you said, there's so much more to racing. Everybody focuses on the driver because that's, of course, the rock star of it. But the engineers, the team managers, there's the strategists that help get you to victory lane in the end.
And the bigger picture, and that's even in the world of sim racing, you do have so much available to you to help develop the car. A lot of drivers originally start out as a hobby by themselves, landing up with teams and then landing to work with one another, building up friendships and bonds to just keep going and develop these cars into some special pieces of machinery. We got to also add on, most of these drivers are coming off the back of not only doing here at majors, but they're also coming off other enduros on their official iRacing platform. So that also requires time and dedication and setups to go. So you really have to rely on the teams to help get the cars prepped, get yourself prepped, and get ready to go. As Smith back into the pits, the 16th, trying to get going. And also our baby metal car running a bit behind. Sorry, I really, really love that. Honestly, the first time I landed up racing was against Baby Metal.
Sorry,
Alex
what?
Kral.
Yeah. Who was that behind him that looked like maybe they brushed the wall? I think that was Northway, it looked like. I saw a bit of smoke and the car kind of weave like he had maybe had a little bit of contact with the concrete.
Ideal moment there, but he's able to keep going. And it is Robert Northway who's up on the inside. And for Crow, this is going to be just let him go by. Don't get into too much of a fight, rather get pulled along.
Oh, and bad news for fans of Bart Mattia. He has a speeding penalty for coming into pit lane too hot and is going to have to serve that sitting in his stall. So he'll easily go a lap down from the leaders, having to wait patiently at this stage. A few more drivers have been pitting in. Ray Partridge, now one of those that pits. You can just see him there in that bright blue machine. His is always easy to spot as he's long used that easily identifiable blue. No, interesting. Okay, so he wasn't awash up to the wall, just maybe distracted by the car in front as the two of them were trying to place themselves on the straightaway.
Bit of tunnel vision coming into play, shortening the vision, not realizing the car is as big as it is. Daniel Holmer up into 4th place, great running for him. And there is Vorosky up 1 position and trying his best to get underneath his competitors as they get so close to the wall. Gotta love the speed cap to show us just how quick it is. Before we came on air, Joe, you brought up being so close to the wall and having that wash from the aero can just drag you off your feet. I mean, this is what everyone loves to see. And one thing in the virtual world, imagine having all your computer fans and that can represent it. It would be fantastic to feel that aero wash. But I think the power bill will go through the roof.
Yeah, just a little bit. And, you know, there are drivers that have a fan on the sim that won't accurately, but will have kind of the air blowing on you from the front to help that immersion. So there are those that kind of go to those lengths out there for to try and really get all the feedback you can, because you don't have the seat of your pants feel here in the sim like you do in the real life. So use every indicator you can of what is happening around you so you can feel, see, and hear what the car is doing. Holmer is once again our leader on lap 34, going long in this race. We saw him do that earlier on as Ericsson has just pitted and comes back out in second ahead of Puteklis. There is now a 9-lap difference between himself and the 666, and it has not worked out well for our former leader.
Well, Daniel Holmer now into pit lane, and Ericsson will be going and picking it up. But Puteklis, unfortunately, now too far down and having to really keep the power on. I mean, for Puteklis, all seemed like it was going well until, well, there's finally a little bit of stops.
Holmer just pitted in, so there you go. Ericsson back up to the lead. Hutchison will stay in third, but he's continuing to drop. It's now up to 4 seconds that he's behind second place. So unless he has some speed or maybe a yellow brings him back in, it's looking like Wayne might be falling away from his chances of taking the victory here today. Fascinating stuff between Uldis and Jesper up at the front of this field. Just kind of a yo-yo back and forth between them with very different strategies. Ericsson trying to go long, Puteklis going for the all-out sprint and trying to go as quick as he can. Now that is Ryan Walker getting his lap back the hard way, and if he gets a yellow, this will work out great for Ryan Walker because he'll get back to the tail end of the field, but he's now going to have to try and run away from Ericsson, who will be desperately trying to hold on and use the slipstream to save a bit of fuel.
And so far, Ericsson is part of the SimRace Sweden team that are leading out the championship. So he wants to try and make sure to maximize the points and ensure that he can try and hold Puteklis at bay as they power their way through. I mean, this is one thing we've got to keep going back to. There is a team championship element for the drivers, not only for the honor of yourself to win such an awesome event, it's also having to really keep it going for your team to make your way by.
Did you hear that when we were on board? I heard it was a lift and coast for sure. I think he put it into neutral or something to save some fuel. So yeah, and look at how quickly he's being caught by Uldis, and he's just going to let him by. So Jesper is going to relinquish the lead. Puteklis now once again your leader. Yeah, let's ride on board. Let's listen in at the end of the straightaway here. Yep, and you can see the tack go down to 0. He is putting it in neutral, and he's trying to save fuel.
This is very, very interesting. And for anyone that doesn't know how you can do it with these cars, well, it's quite handy to have your clutch programmed that you can just go and grab hold of it, put your clutch in, and like this, it'll take the drive away. Make sure that you're in a high enough gear before you get back onto it, because if you're too low if you're in a lower gear, you come back after holding the clutch in, you will end up locking that diff up and throwing yourself or damaging the motor and gearbox. So very risky situation, but if he can save a lap or two, that's going to make a monster of a difference.
Interesting stuff. So putting that clutch in and hoping that it'll take it to the end. Unfortunately for fans of Ryan Walker, he has lost that lead lap once again as Puteklis went by. In fact, Uldis is running away, and Ericsson can't even hold on to him, so he's working with Ryan Walker instead. Ericsson not even concerned with Puteklis. All right, so now this has me thinking, what's the backwards math here, Steven? Is Jesper thinking, if I save, I can do this on one more stop?
I've got a funny feeling he's trying to aim for that one more stop just to make sure, because he must be so close to the breaking point where Puteklis, I think at this point, is keeping his foot flat, try and open up the gap and get as far as he can. But I also want to throw in, Wayne is now starting to catch up as well. So for Ericsson, he's going to have Hudson in chase, trying to get everything he can, along with Crow. So the more that he's trying to save, he's getting the rest of the field closing up on the back of him.
So what I'm seeing is he has to do 34 lap stints from his last pit stop. He's now 8 laps into this stint. So it's going to be tight. It's not impossible. But yeah, he's hedging his bets in case it comes right down to the end. So I'm guessing he can sprint to the finish if it gets close.
Oh man, this is... Some people play chess, some people play checkers, some people are playing 3D chess while playing poker at this point. And that is exactly what he's doing. And now going to have a mirror full of orange at the moment as Wayne's caught right onto the back of him. Wayne's going to ensure that he's going to put the pressure on. Will Ericsson still continue to do the lift and coast? Will he still try and keep that going and lose out 2 more positions in the run? Or he's going to have to put that hammer down. But Pateklis is well out and checked up far ahead, nearly 3 seconds up the road.
And Uldis has to do this. He has to sprint because remember how tight we said it was for Jesper. And Uldis is 9 laps difference. There's no way, unless he gets cautions, that he can make it on 1 more stop. So this means the 666 car needs a yellow for this race to work out, or he just has to have the speed to pull enough gap. I don't think he can pull enough gap in 2 stops to come out ahead of Ericsson on his 1 stop, though. It's almost 50 seconds difference.
Are you getting a phone call yet on your phone, Joe, to call the safety car out at all? Because I wonder if all this is going to be pulling every bit of favor possible to try and hope for the safety car to come out. Just running past and saying, listen, I'll buy you a cool drink if you can just come out and help a little bit. But if we fall under caution now, this is not going to help out Ericsson as well, because the fuel saving that he's just done would have cost him an immense amount of time, and it's going to be a tough call.
Now, if we're going by the statistics, is again we can hear Ericsson just clutching on his way into the turn. If we're going by the statistics, Uldis probably has the better call. One of my favorite quotes is from Eddie Cheever. He once said on air, "Luck is a bad strategy," and what Ericsson is hoping for is that we go green to the finish. I think we're a lot more likely to see yellow before this is over. But it's not unprecedented because I believe we've either had a 0 yellow or a single yellow Speedway 500 here for the majors before. So, keep your eye out. This could go either way.
Well, if I was Ericsson, I'd be a little bit more worried because the championship fighter of Garen Batten, who's now in 5th, has got 1 car separating the 2 of them, and Crow also looks to try and follow Wayne through. So this is going to be a tough one. We saw Wayne managing to get on by and will get past our back marker, but Garen has now got his teeth out for the fight and looking to follow Crow on the way through.
Yeah, and let's see, Batten's strategy is actually, interesting. Okay, no, it's worse. No, excuse me, it's worse. So Batten actually is on 2 laps older. So he's even more pressed for fuel. So right now, Batten is even more hoping that he can stay behind and save enough to get to the end. So let's listen on board with Garen to see if he's also saving. Not to the degree that we've heard from Ericsson, at least not into turn 3 there. So if Batten hopes to make it to the finish, he's going to have to be doing more than what we've seen 37 do.
Ericsson's definitely had the accountant being the penny pincher saying, listen, we've only got X amount of fuel left in the tins. You best make sure you make it count at this point.
Exactly. Act like you have to pay for it. Oh, and a little bit up to the wall. That was Batten in the teal and black car that we saw just glancing the safer barrier on the exit of turn 2. He does give me the feeling that he is going all out right now. Also, maybe banking on us winding up with a yellow.
Ericsson now putting the hammer down. That is definitely going and breaking away. Got past one of our back markers, and you can already see starting to make that climb back towards to close up the gap to Aldous ahead of him.
So the lap time difference, Puteklis is in the mid 41s. 41.6s seems to be kind of what he's trying to aim for the most part. Ericsson is doing 42.3, 42.8, 42.0. So he's kind of all over the place in comparison, but somewhere in the 42. So maybe about a second difference between them. Again, that would only get you for a stint a little over 30 seconds or so. And Puteklis is going to have to overcome a pit stop's worth, which is going to be somewhere in the realm of 40 to 50 seconds. So the math doesn't work out for the 666 if we stay green.
I mean, this is always a tough time, and now we're getting to the crucial moments, because once you hit 150 laps, you know that it's going to be that run to the line, that it's that hammer down to keep going. Whether you're going to go for that splash or dash, you have to commit to your stops and ensure that you keep going. Oh, we might have that yellow. Big accident. Brodsky into the wall.
And he takes someone with him. Is that Hawken? It is indeed. Schutt is out of this race as well. The 101 sitting upside down. Trevor Vovrosky takes a tow into pit lane as we slow down. And for Puteklis, this actually couldn't have been any better, I think, because he now finds himself on lap 26 of his stint. I was just about to say before we got that yellow that we're going to see him pitting in soon if he follows the same strategy before, because he pitted on lap 28 of his stint. So he's basically at the end of his stint already.
Definitely now change engine mapping to use as little as possible. Ensure that you've now got a hybrid system, that you're using only the battery and not going and using anything that requires fuel at this point. But let's take a look at that replay. So stuck on the outside, just had the contact on the rear. That turned him around, and unfortunately, big side-on impact. And it looked like collecting a third as well. So we had 3 cars getting into that mix, not just the 2 that landed down. And the whole field coming into pit lane.
I was trying to make out who that was. I'll get it in a second here. Who narrowly avoided major contact, although they could have gotten a little bit of arbitrary net code in the process. But we have one taker staying out, Josh Hampton. Checking to see if anybody else is in this group. No, everybody else is a lap down. Hampton's the only one on the lead lap going to try and gamble this by staying out. Remember, this will mean that he can do it on one more stop, pretty much for sure from here. He's on lap 20, so yeah, he should be able to make it. Coming back out. Ooh, it was tight to see who was the first to the line, and Ericsson will be at Hutchison. And Puteklis, needing a little bit more fuel than those around him, actually winds up in 5th.
Man, just not working out in his favor, unfortunately. But with the safety car out for just a little bit longer, means that you can try and get tires up to temperature, try and get yourself going. But for Jasper, this is a big run for him. A sigh of relief as everyone rejoins back behind our safety car and get ready to go once again. Wayne, lying in 3rd place, will be also on the climb, staring at the back of Jasper, trying to figure out what's going to be the next way to get by. They do know that Joshua will need to pit, and they will be fighting it out for 1st place. But Alex Crow, though, lying in 4th, which would go up into 3rd place. Been keeping it consistent. I think has an opportunity here to get a major win underneath his belt.
So, the driver we found out that avoided that incident was Sebastian Jackson. He could use a little bit of luck right now. Unfortunately, he's only going to be a lap down still, so he's not able to get both of his laps back quite yet. We're running out of time. We're already 3/4 of the way through now as we hit lap 150. But as the lap down cars now find themselves taking their pit stops. We should get the wave around, I think. There you go. Those are the cars going by, getting their lap back, of which we've got Ryan Walker, Bart Mattia, and I think Tarazi. No, Tarazi is already back at the back of the field. So 2 cars getting that.
I love the wave by. Something we don't get to see in road racing all too often, but it allows you just to go and get that lap back, get back onto the train, and ensure you can stay in for the fight. Also, it allows people to get back into their normal positions that they were in before the safety car. Always rather helpful. Been seeing a lot of it been brought in for the Majors Endurance Championship as they're going to be heading into the final round. That was introduced as wave bys allow the GTPs or the GT3s to get out of the trains and start having the GDPs back towards the front and the GD3s at the back. So there's not too much confusion on the start. Everyone's having the right classes around them instead of guessing. But coming from the world of oval racing, it is going to be great stuff. We're getting ready to go green here once again at Indianapolis.
All right. Pace car is in. Josh Hampton is getting ready to take off as he's our new leader. Lap 21 of the stint. Should be able to get maybe up to about 36, 37 laps into this stint. I'll do the math in a second here to see if that will take him all the way to the end. Jesper Eriksson no longer needing to save as much fuel, but still also needs at least one more stop to get to the finish. We got a couple drivers making moves back there. Alex Crow and Puteklis a little bit of side-by-side.
Well, Wayne is also in for the fight as well, as we do see Eriksson up on the inside, trying to get the pass done, and Dusty's got it beautifully locked in, and Hampton having to back out of the run as we charge our way through. The grandstands are alive, standing on the edge of their seats as Eriksson leads out the pack as we get towards the closing stages of this race. Christian going and diving up on the inside, couldn't quite get the pass done, and Dusted is waiting to get going. Gotta say, beautiful, beautiful stuff from our drivers, pushing that a little bit harder, trying to figure out what do they need to do. And we got Jeff Schmeier in 8th place as we do see the snake starting to come back to life as everyone trying to break the toe of one another.
Yeah, we're going to see that more and more here at the end of the race. It's starting to get to be go time. If you're not at the front of the field, you got to push your way forward from here to get that track position. Also, I checked on the math. Josh Hampton, if the fuel stint is correct for what I assume for him, will have to pit with about 35 laps to go. It'll be right on the edge.
Jeff Schmeier running in 8th position, trying to get going, trying to get a little bit more grip underneath him as he puts down the power. And seeing that Thomas just ahead of him is right within arm's reach. It's going to have to do a do-or-die maneuver to try close up that gap as much as possible. But take a look right behind them. Northway, once again, taking the high line to try and get round and back to the old ways that got him straight towards the top. So
they fly down into turn 1 once again. Eriksson leads Hampton. Hutchison still sitting in 3rd. They're all pulling each other along. No breakaway this early on the restart. And we got a penalty for Ryan Walker, which it looks like he's serving right now. Not sure what that's about.
Oh, definitely getting caught out there. But take a look at the fight. 9th, 8th, 7th, and 10th, all in the battle with one another, and it's turning into a bit of a tight fight here as Jeff stuck as in the sandwich, Piggy in the middle at the moment, trying to get himself going. Josh Meyer not going to be happy with this one, trying to defend as much as possible, looks for the inside line, and unfortunately just too far back on the way through. I mean, this is going absolutely wild as a couple of drivers trying to make their way back through the field to gain a lap. You got others that are just in an absolute dogfight with one another.
And Holmer's up 18 positions from where he started in this race. That will put him in the top 10 now, getting by Jeff Schmeier, who looks like Tarazi might be able to get by. His ball takes a big look, but then backs out of it. And Daniel Holmer now sets his sights on Robert Northway, who has slipped a little bit backwards and maybe is not as strong as I once thought on this one. We tick off into lap 157 now.
Daniel Holmer sitting in that top 10, going to be quite happy with it. But Wayne up into third place, has been on a stellar effort at the moment. Hampton just ahead of him is still keeping a consistent gap and making sure he's going to have to work for it. Ericsson at the moment, nearly a second difference between himself and second place, while he's leaving second, third, and fourth to go and deal with one another. And for Aldous, who's a little bit further down the field, down in fifth, must be one of the most frustrating moments for him.
Certainly, especially since it seemed like he had pace there for a brief moment. Some of that was flattered by the fact that he was on a different pitch strategy from those around him. But now everybody else also basically going all out, except for Josh Hampton. He's the only one that really needs to save from here, because it's a pretty simple one stop from here on out for everybody, which means they should be able to just keep going as hard as possible. As we see them fly around once again, Ericsson in that 37 car looking to add to his tally of wins. We check in on our championship leader, Garen Batten.
Garen, who's going to be quite happy. He did see first place in the championship, unfortunately, meet the wall, which means he's going to be scoring some major points here, but still needs to climb up through the ranks. And Garen, not having an easy time in doing so, is trying everything to catch up to Aldous ahead of him.
And one guy that has been helping us a lot with the majors over recent years, knows quite a bit about this series, is Ossian Puhaka. Ozzy, glad to have you up in the booth here for the end of our Speedway 500. I know you've been kind of watching a bit from the background. What have you noticed so far, especially with such an intriguing end strategy-wise?
Well, thank you, Joe. Pleasure to be here as always. Hello, Stephen, too. So what I've noticed so far is that we've entered into the second phase of the race now. Whereas in the start, everybody's kind of shuffling around. You got people who are trying to save fuel. You got people who maybe care less about that sort of thing. Puteklis being one good example of that. Now that the last caution happened, it has changed the complexion of the race a lot, where it's now effectively 2 sprints for everybody apart from Hampton. So what you need to do now is shift your focus as a race car driver, and I'm very curious to see who does that best. Personally, we've noticed Jesper Eriksson having a very good car in clean air. He's going to be someone to watch out for. Puteklis, I'm surprised he hasn't made any moves closer towards the front. I think he's biding his time, trying to take it easy. I'm curious if Jesper's head stays in it. You know, I know he has the pace, he has the setup to take this in the bag. If he has the mental strength to take it is my question. We'll see over the course of the next 40 laps.
Right on board with Alex Crow now, just kind of rocking up on Josh Hampton, trying to see if he could get by him. Does not want to lose touch with Wayne Hutchison here, Stephen. He probably wants to make sure that wherever Wayne goes, he's there to try and follow, because they've already lost touch with Ericsson.
Oh, this is absolutely incredible. But I want to also bring up something. We're talking about that final stop, and I'm looking at the laps counting down. I'm thinking, okay, you're going to be adding a bit of fuel to get yourself going. But I want to find out, is the driver's going to be able to take a set of tires, to have a new set, to give it that final hard push? Or are they going to try and keep what they've got on right now to just keep it alive, to ensure you have that little bit more tire life than your competitors towards the end?
Exactly. We always talk about the fuel, maybe just making sure you can do a little bit better, especially if you've got a car that's trimmed out. It could be difficult in the corners. We've already seen a number of drivers, Stephen, lose it on their own, just getting loose in some of the corners.
It's been some close moments, and once again, it's who has got enough going. And one thing, as Oz said, is just who's got the mental fortitude. I know at this sort of moment, most drivers are starting to feel a bit of a shudder on their leg as they've been building up lactic acid over time in their arms and in their legs, trying to go that little bit more in towards the race. And that's something in sim racing we don't get to talk about too often, is the human element of coming in, lactic acid builds up. You start feeling that cramping sensation in your legs, and especially in your thigh, getting the major impact there.
And at least from my experience, I feel like your ankle as well. If you're pushing that pedal for so long for a track like this, where it is flat out pretty much most of the way, and they haven't had very many cautions to be able to kind of relax it, maybe kind of wiggle it around during the pit stop and things like that. So I'm sure it's getting quite uncomfortable as, Josh Hampton pitting in. This is going to be so tight. If he can make it to the finish from here, he's going to be saving mega fuel.
Always a tough one. But this is where what are the drivers going to be able to do? And Daniel trying also push himself that little bit harder. He's feeling the pressure at the moment as they make their way through. I've got to say, Oz, you're feeling right now, looking at the drivers just battling it out, side-by-side moments. As a driver out there on the circuit, conditions are incredibly hot, and you are really trying to battle out. We do see Robert Northway going and collecting the wall. Do you think the stress is starting to mount on these drivers?
Yes, I think so, especially those drivers who haven't been in this kind of situation before, those who are maybe flying a little bit higher than they are used to. For rest of them, I can see a lot of calculated risk taking. Every time you go into a corner side by side, you take some of the responsibility away from yourself, in a sense that you're letting your life in somebody else's hands, I would say. But at the same time, when you go side by side down a straight, simply inside move to the corner, that's not really taking a risk. That's just oval racing. That's just Indy 500 racing. When you go into a corner 2 or 3 wide, you try to make a 3 wide move, that can be a bit more of a risk depending on where you take it. More you're starting to see the stress factor in that somebody will not go for that move, for example. You can see here a great example of Fredriksson getting by Gastel on the outside into turn number 1, just utilizing, just still having the mental acumen to use that outside line, to use the run that he is being given, and do what he needs to do at this moment in time. Later on, once we get closer to lap 190, lap 195, you find yourself in a top 5, top 3 battle. You start to make that calculation of, okay, how do I win this race? The guys are doing it already, but even more so, they're starting to calculate. And when things don't go up to plan, that's when you start to see the frustration, the red mist descending Eponia, and that's when you start to see the mistakes.
Had another retirement officially. Trevor Vrosky is now out of this race, so he's not going to try and get back into it after his repairs. We've spent so long talking about the action, which is good that we've had enough action out on track that we haven't really had to focus on other stuff as much, that we failed to notice that the temperature has been rising on the track surface. It started at 108 Fahrenheit. It is now 127 on the track surface. That is a massive swing. If your car handled great in the, relatively cooler temperatures, it might not be as good now, Stephen.
Looking at it, I mean, if you put it into degrees for countries that don't work in the Fahrenheit, but degrees,
civilized countries. Thank you very much.
52.7 degrees is incredibly hot. It is hot enough that you can crack an egg and get it sunny side up to have it. Your bacon is starting to be that little bit more perfect. Leave it on for about 10 minutes and it's going to be that extra crispy on the way through. I mean, this is just mountains. But the big factor is Vrodsky, who looks like he may have got it wrong again. Oh, there we go. That little bit of a tail slide. Hard impact into the wall, and that signaled the end for him. But that is our championship leader for 2025 not finishing this race and losing out on desperate amount of points, and that will then allow Garen Batten and Jasper to move up to first and second position in the championship.
That is an excellent point. Yeah, I forgot that Vrosky's bad news today has big implications for him. Only 29th in the end is where he'll be put when all is said and done. 36 starters, 28 are still out on track. and 17 of them are on the lead lap with less than 30 laps to go now as we ride on board with Daniel Holmer, the man with the light right foot, able to go as long as anybody else that we've seen on a full green flag stint, is up to 7th now. Question is, can he catch up to the leaders? Because he's about 9 seconds off of Jesper Eriksson currently. So, Stephen, he's got some work to do, but I have to say, Daniel's really impressed me today.
I have to take my hat off. And Daniel, if you ever need a team for endurance racing, you're more than welcome to try and save that 1 or 2 pit stops needed for the Majors 24 that's coming up later this year. I mean, it's been incredible to see it. But he's also been keeping very consistent in his times. There's no major deviations. So he's got that lap time he's aiming for, keeps ticking away at it, and it might not be the quickest, but it's definitely the lap time, all he needs to push himself that little bit forward.
We've got another penalty, unfortunately. Oscar Fredriksson taking his last pit stop is going to find it a very long one because he was caught speeding into pit lane. That was another driver we just saw diving in, and I think that was Christian McCrelly. And then it looks like Alex Crow. Oh, Alex Crow. So that's one of our front runners going to take his last
Somebody
stop.
went into the wall on the pit entry just now.
Oh.
Into the, you can see it on the right-hand side of the wall. So basically, the inside retaining wall on the pit entry. I think that was someone whose race was already over, but just clattered into the pit entry as everybody else was pitting in.
That was Adam Preston, the 99, it looks like. Yeah, he hit the outside wall, ricocheted back to the inside wall. Thankfully, no caution. So both Vrosky has spared us a yellow, and now Adam Preston has as well. Let me see if Preston... Nope, Preston does not have a spare car. So he's oh, no, excuse me. He just took his spare car. So that's why it's showing as being taken. So he's coming back out into the race and should be able to carry on from here.
I do want to point out, Oscar Fredriksson is definitely going to be kicking, it's pretty much the equivalent of kicking his pinky toe. Here's Adam Preston, though. Goes up high. Oh, massive impact. And it brings it down. Drivers are able to take some avoiding action. He hooks it hard left into the wall to ensure it stays there. But Oscar Fredriksson came into this race 4th in the championship. He's got himself a penalty for that last stop. That is that's pretty much like going and finding that coffee table and you're walking around 3 o'clock in the morning and that pinky toe just catches a corner of it just in the dark. Thud. And it will be costing him some severe amount of points for it.
Yeah, a visceral description. Thank you very much. Don't want to think about that.
Do you know what's even worse? Upturned plugs in the UK. Do you know what the UK power plug looks like?
A terrible invention. A terrible invention.
Yeah, a terrible invention. So walking into that at 3 a.m. to just forgetting it's someone took off the night lamp for the night or whatever, and you walk into the or they have to take electricity for the night or something, and just walk into that plug, and it's not pretty. So in that sense, Fredriksson can thank his lucky stars that his race is not going the way he likes to, but at least he's not walking into an upturned plug.
That's
Here
true.
we go.
Now,
Equivalent of a Lego brick.
Yeah,
I have to ask you, Ozzy, because Crow managed to stay on the lead lap. Now, I'm not sure everybody will be able to. Do you try to pit early on this one? We should be easily to the finish from here, even flat out. So you say wait.
I say wait for 2 reasons. One of the reasons is that you always want to maximize the time that you're driving with the light car. So that is just basic endurance racing strategy, in that you maximize the time with the light car, you try to take a late pit stop, you try to use the fuel as much as possible, and also you try to make that next pit stop a little bit shorter, even if you're not going essentially to full tank, so it's not that big of an effect, but you don't want to carry any extra weight. The other reason is it's usually better to wait if you don't have that absolutely massive confidence in your pit stopping abilities or whatnot. You're not confident doing the calculations. Where will you end out back on the track? Where will you be? So in that sense, for the means of saving time, as I get my English in order, I've been speaking Finnish all day, I'm sorry. So in that sense, you want to wait. It is the safer play. Now, I get why sometimes you want to undercut a little bit too, if you're feeling confident about it, if it makes a strategic sense, but right now, I don't see it.
So we've got a variety of strategies happening. Ericsson pitted a little bit earlier. He's back out. He's actually ahead of Crow right now. Puteklis, his pit stop unfortunately didn't work out for him. He's now multiple seconds behind both of them. We saw Wayne Hutchison just come in, so he's pitted. Garrett Batten now inherits the lead, but he's pitting in right this second. There you see him on screen. And Daniel Holmer, who can go, as we know, very, very long, is on lap 29 of his stint and is going to lead this race. How long does he dare to go?
Somebody check that car. I think the fuel lines are a little bit larger than regulation. Going back to old school NASCAR, where instead of using 6 mil, you use 8 mil fuel lines. But Daniel Holmer has been impressive with his fuel saving on the way through. I don't think it's going to help him out to hold first place, but if he can get into a top 5 situation, I mean, that is a massive, massive upturn for him and a good confidence boost as well.
So out of those who have stopped, Ericsson currently is the one sitting pretty. He's got 5 seconds backs to Alex Crow. Both of them able to just go flat out from here on out to the finish of the race if we stay green. And of course, we've got other drivers that are still going longer. Tarazi's just pitting in. We're waiting on Holmer, who might be able to take a very short stop potentially, since he is usually very good about saving that fuel. David Baker still carries on. Eric Smith, but they're many, many seconds behind Holmer, so they're unlikely to try and jump them. I think definitely Ericsson is the one in the best position so far, Stephen.
Just incredible. And with 20 laps remaining of this fantastic race that everyone's been waiting an entire year for, just building up this amount of effort to be here, to be on the grid, to finish this race. It is just coming down to the last of the wire, and with no more stops for our front runners, it is flat out all the way through. Nerves are going to be on end. Drivers are going to be just shaking behind the wheel. You're going to have to keep focused, and this is where the radio comms start becoming very, very quiet, as no one wants you to go and have a little mistake. As we do see, that is Daniel Holmer into the pit lane. Man, oh man. What an impressive run for him. And I've got to say, driver that has definitely impressed me quite a bit is Daniel Holmer with that fuel saving. It's just incredible to keep the speed and yet have the fuel saving. Not often do you have a driver that can do both.
31 laps he went on this one, which doesn't sound as impressive considering what we did before, but that's with everybody going at full tilt. And he will get overtaken by Ericsson. In fact, I think much of the top 5 are going to be able to go on past him. Ericsson's still our leader of those who have finished their final stop. Still need Baker and Smith in as they sit P1 and P2 at this point, but they're 32 laps in. I think what these two might be banking on is hoping that we get a yellow.
It's a risky one. That is a risky one. That's going to be like throwing the dice and hoping that you don't get snake eyes. It's not something I would personally bank on as a driver or as a team, but it's definitely, it's a strategy, but I don't know, not keen on that, not keen on it at all, because everyone's been racing so clean at the moment, all in beautiful tows, everyone just trying to get themselves to the end. But I mean, going past races, it's a difficult one to go. I mean, Oz, your thoughts past races? Do we usually see safety cars coming into play in the final 18, 17 laps of this race?
Yeah, we do. Simple answer. Also, I must say, I get what you mean, but as a race car driver, if somebody presented me with the odds of just don't get snake eyes, so that means 5 of the 6 options are going to be to my good in 2 rolls. So that means the odds of actually getting snake eyes are quite low. Everything else is a win for me. That's well over 90%. I'll take those each and every time. Because what I'm hoping as a race car driver is anything over 50%. whenever the chances are over 50% and essentially the benefits outweigh the risk, yeah, I'm taking a chance. But you're right in that it is kind of risky. You never want to gamble on the actions of somebody else. You never want to gamble your race on something that is outside of your control. At the same time, getting a caution on the last 10 laps or so of a Majors 500 is the odds are quite good in that happening. Somebody will be a little bit more desperate. Somebody will have their leg shaking a little bit too much heading into the corner. You get less and less room each and every lap. You might make a slight error going into the throttle just a little bit too late at the exit of a corner, and somebody will be taking their chance. You can already see in the background how some of the drivers are defending their position, where 10, 15 laps ago they wouldn't be. So it's just somebody mistiming their block, and that's it. You got a caution.
And for Ericsson, he does not want that caution right now because he's up to 6 seconds. He's been extending his lead over Alex Crowe, who I want to give a tip of the hat to, because yes, he started on the front row of this race, did the 602 car. But if I'm honest, Stephen, have we really talked that much about him doing anything crazy? He's been kind of hovering around the front. He's just been keeping himself in the right position. And yes, it's not looking like a win as things sit right now, but man, what a cool, calm, collected race it's been for Alex.
It's the race that you want to have. You want to just keep going, tick off the laps one by one, keep your lap times going. And as you said, it hasn't been any hairy maneuvers from him. He's been keeping it clean, but he has got Wayne on the back of him. The two of them have been quite close to one another for quite a majority of the race. That's where we've seen most of the battle. But Alex Crowe has just been happy as a camper as he makes his way through, holding second place. But I've got a funny feeling that Wayne right behind him will be looking to try and snatch her away last minute.
Yeah, Wayne going to be wanting that one, especially because he's, like I said, still looking for that first victory. And the closer he can get to the front, the more that could mean. If something does happen for Ericsson, if there is maybe a bobble at the end of the race, if there's a late yellow, that'll give him better opportunities to finally get that first victory. And Garen Batten, he wants as many points as possible. He's sitting back in fourth, just ahead of these guys, Thomas and Holmer, fighting for a top 5 position. Daniel coming back out on track with the easiest fuel to the finish compared to everybody else around him, is currently very close to being able to overtake this fellow Daniel. Let's ride on board, see what the Scandinavian does down into turn 3. Gets the wheel inside, and it looks like Ozzy is going to move up into that 5th position.
Well, I'm not, but yeah, he is. So, yeah, Daniel Holmer, also another Swedish driver, as you can see from the SimRacing Sweden advertisement on the rear wing. A lot of Swedish drivers in this series, and I must say that they have a great project going on in Sweden. I've been following it a little bit from the sidelines, from across the bay, of course, here in Finland, following what the Swedes are doing, what are they up to. They've been promoting their national series. They got a vibrant NASCAR scene as well, like on the SimRacing side. They do iRacing, they have their own oval series, and it seems like they don't mind the IndyCar stuff either. So yeah, you got a lot of young guys there. Jesper Eriksson, for example, Daniel Holmer. I must say about Jesper Eriksson, we were wondering in Iceland why they weren't joining us for the after party in Reykjavik, in central Reykjavik. And the reason is that the age limit to the bar is 20, and they couldn't get in. So, so yeah, lots of young guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's keeping them out of trouble, I suppose, for now.
And save a lot of money. Tell you what, Iceland's expensive.
I will make a note if I ever manage to get over there. But Ericsson right now has a couple seasons now under his belt here in the majors. Has really been a fantastic driver, and is going to try and see if he can take himself a Speedway 500 victory. Batten with a moment, though, Stephen, coming off the corner, had to gather it back up.
Oh man, that just made me hold my breath, and I think I swallowed my heart in the process as Holmer went around the outside, did wheel-to-wheel contact with the two of them. I mean, this is just absolutely great stuff, but once again, it's not where you want to be. For Batten, you want to finish this race. It's big points in the bag for him. knowing that Trotsky is out of the run, and now he's going to have to really push as hard as he can to keep it going. But, I mean, Batten is just keeping his foot in it. Holmer into that top 5, which for a person that's been saving fuel, this is absolutely perfect. Has Garen got enough in the tank? Has he got enough left in the tires to battle his way through? I mean, he's closing at a rate of knots, but just not enough to make the impact. It's so close to the apron. It's getting a bit frightening here.
Now, if you smell hay and hear trumpeting, that's because we have to talk about the elephant in the room. And that is the fact that they do not have green-white checkers in this series. Now, if we get down to 4 laps to go and we get a yellow at any point, whoever is in the lead is the winner. They'll wrap this one up in victory lane. And as it stands, that is Ericsson. So again, unless something big happens to him, Alex Crow really has no recourse when it gets down to the finish. He's going to have something of desperation, Ozzy, to be able to come away with the win on this one.
Yeah, and the problem for him is that had it been like 10-15 laps earlier, he could have worked with Hutchison, but it looks like Wayne Hutchison is just biding his time behind him. Whether he doesn't have the pace or whether he doesn't want to use the pace is the question here. But if Crow and Hutchison would have worked together, utilized the draft, slingshot each other, they could have had a chance of catching up to Ericsson by working together, but that would have needed to start a long time ago. Bit too late for that now, so best they can hope for really, well, I say I would take a second. I would take a third place here, even if we don't have a podium at 500. But best they can hope for if they want to win this race is if somebody has an oopsie. Let's put it that way. And the chances of oopsie, as I said earlier, will get exponentially higher as this race progresses, because you can see the gaps getting smaller and smaller. Nobody's leaving anyone any extra room, and whether that happens before or after we get to 4 to go is the question here. But we got a lot of potential fights here, and anything can and usually will happen.
32 points between Ericsson and Batten coming into this one. Batten sitting in 5th, Ericsson in the lead. I'd have to check to see what the point scoring would be between them, but I don't think it's going to be enough for Ericsson to take the points lead, but it'll be close. Regardless, next time by, it is going to be the end of the road for hoping for a yellow. And Alex Crow can only hope that Ericsson will have an incident out there that will hand him the lead. Jesper is sitting pretty at this stage.
Car off on the left.
Really?
Car off on the left. In the grass, there is a car off on the left.
It's Preston. It's Preston. Now he's out of the racing line. He is on the access road, so I think hopefully that will mean, it looks like he's out of fuel. Hopefully that means we don't get a yellow here.
How do you screw up the calculations that bad?
Well, you say this, but you're talking to GSRC commentators.
Oh, but that is entirely fair, Joe.
Yeah,
that is entirely fair, Joe. I was just thinking maybe that's one of the things where you get a number wrong or try to figure out if there's going to be a yellow or not. Who knows? But yeah, Preston.
No, it wasn't fuel. It wasn't fuel. Car went up and smacked the wall, and he did the right thing, tried to keep out of everybody's way, and is just trying to drive it home.
Well held.
And it looks like, yep, he is going to get in. So we're down to 4 laps here. Yeah, at 197, we're down to 4 laps to go. Ericsson has crossed the threshold, and he just needs to get it to the finish as he's coming up behind Tom Guest right now. Guest going to stay out of the way and lose another lap, knowing this is not his battle.
Oh, man, this is just tense the whole way through. Ericsson going with 4 laps to go is going to be ticking it down yet another time, and will be waiting to go and sign off of becoming a legend. Not many can say they've won the Majors 500. Not many can go and take the victory flag here in the Majors Championship. And for Jasper, this is an opportunity to move up in the championship and go and have that milk bottle. I mean, this is just one of the crowning races to get it all done and dusted here in the Majors.
And much to my surprise, I thought there was more wins underneath Ericsson's name, he's only got 2 victories so far. This is going to be a heck of an addition to his trophy case. Now 2 laps to go. It is 5 miles to get to Taste Milk.
And this is nerve-wracking. And as you went and said, feeling that shudder on the leg is a possibility as we see Pim trying to also make his way through, because there's still a big race happening behind the scenes, not only about first place, but for anyone that's out there, they want to maximize the positions. They want to say they've come as high as they can go and scoring as many possible places. But Oz, what can be going through the mind of Jesper at this moment?
I'd say mycket bra, which is very good in Swedish, but yes, Jesper's gotta be very happy about this. It's the achievement he's been looking for, and it's the one thing that, he's a fast driver. He's been a fast driver for a while, up on the rise in the Swedish scene. Has had some difficult times at times, but this is something that he really deserves. He's one to look out for in the future, Joe.
He really is. It's going to be start number 15. And yet it's going to be win number 3, but his first, that is a Majors Speedway 500, Jesper Eriksson will win at Indianapolis. Unbelievable stuff there from the 37. Just ran a beautiful race, Stephen. He put himself in the right positions. He stayed out of trouble. He got the strategy right. Just proof that when it's your day, it's your day.
Oh, it's been an incredible one. And Crow managing to lock in that second place. It's been a bit of a silent hunter the whole way through, but the 602 will be quite happy with that one.
No doubt. That'll be a good haul of points for him. Wayne Hutchison, a podium to his name. I'm sure he'll be thrilled about that. Garen Batten, only 5th today, though. What is that going to look like in the championship as we go over our results here at the Brickyard? The Speedway 500 sees Jesper Eriksson take a win over Alex Crow by about 7 seconds in the end. Definitely one of the bigger margins we've seen in this race in the majors as Wayne Hutchison gets himself a podium. How about Daniel Holmer, 28th to 4th today. Garen Batten from pole to 5th, going to be a bit disappointed with that as Daniel Thomas was 6th position. Puteklis, we talked about how quick he was. Well, it just kind of faded on him at the end there. Just didn't have anything. He wound up 7th as Tarazi was 8th and McCrelly, was 9th. And then Jeff Schmeier, Stephen, rounds out our top 10.
Moving down, we got Robert Northway, had a hot drive at the start of the race. Unfortunately, dropped down to 11th. Ray Partridge in 12th with Eric Smith in 13th. 14th is Pim van Gassel. David Baker in 15th. Gabor Chorowski running in 16th. 17th is Joshua Hampton. Carlos Fernandez in 18th. 19th, Oscar Fredrickson. And Bart Major going and rounding off in 20th. But that is just a proper run.
And then we've got Sebastian Jackson, 21st today. Definitely could have been in the hunt. He seemed like he had speed early, but he got sent backwards with his incident early on. 22nd for Guest, Hogg in 23rd, and Troy Anderson 24th. And Ryan Walker, not going to be happy about 2 laps down in 25th. Adam Preston was 26th, and Tom Dreiling 27th. Håkan Schutt got back out there, collected 28th today. Then it's DNFs for the rest of the drivers you see on this list: Vrovsky, Kukas, Strauss, Hagstrom, Kopp, Nicholson, Mathen, and Forkolb here today. We'll give it a second, see if we can get some drivers. Usually we do get at least a few in on this race. And Ozzy, glad to have you with us. Actually, it looks like we'll hold that thought, Ozzy, because we do have our winner, Jesper Eriksson, ready to chat with us. So let's bring him in and see what he thinks. Jesper, congratulations. I hope that milk tastes good, because you are now an Indy 500 winner.
It feels amazing. And this glass of milk sure does taste good. It was fun. It was one heck of a race.
What were your thoughts going through the head into that final stint? You find yourself with a gap behind. Were you focused on just hitting every mark, or were you starting to get lost and getting excited thinking, I could win this?
Coming out of the pit lane, there's definitely not much to celebrate in the gap that you have, but I just felt like I need to get out of a corner, try not to get too excited, be calm, because I knew this setup was fast, even though I was alone on the track. So just hit your marks, drive fast, and see where we're gonna end up, and hope for no cautions, of course.
How did you enter this race? A 500-mile race is a long one to plan for. Did you have like a detailed attack plan, or were you just kind of rolling with the punches and make the decision as it comes?
Oh, it was definitely just making the decisions as it comes. I started quite far back, but my game plan was just go into the top 6, run from there, see what happens in the end of the race, save fuel, and it worked out in the end. Super happy.
Indeed. Well, I mean, you've got the microphone. Who would you like to thank for today's win?
Both my teammates, Oscar and Daniel, absolute mega chaps today during the race. So much fun to just sit and chat during the race and all the strategy, and otherwise the team, Mosa, SimRacing, and just every sponsor that we have. Super thankful for them.
That was our winner, Jesper Eriksson, taking win number 3 in his career here at fantastic Indianapolis. And I think Ozzy has caught up with our 3rd place finisher, Wayne Hutchison.
Yeah, Wayne, congratulations for 3rd place. That first win is still quite elusive, but it's still gotta feel good to finish in the top 3 at the Brickyard.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is the best finish I've ever had in the majors, so I'll take it. You know, it would have been nice to win, but Jesper was just too fast when he got in clean air.
Yeah, he had the pace all race long. So how about towards the end there? We saw you working for that 2nd place. Did you guys ever have or did you ever have an idea, we should maybe work together, try and catch up to Jesper, slingshot each other, try to work off the draft, or we're just looking for your own race all the way through?
At that point, I was just looking for second. Jesper was 7 or 8 seconds ahead, and I don't think we were ever going to catch him. And, I got up behind Alex half a second or so, but then it was just too dirty. I couldn't do anything with it. And I was at that point, I just wanted to stay ahead of the guys behind and get the podium.
No, yeah, that's absolutely fair enough. So we got a long season up ahead of us. Still lots of majors events to go. We're heading to Le Mans next in June to the 24 hours. So are you already looking forward to that, or will it take a couple of days to wind down from this one?
Looking forward to it. I mean, we have the 2.4-hour majors race and then the 24 right after that. And in between there, I've got other official races. But it'll be. I'll be winding down for a couple hours and then running the Americas region race, Indy 500 this afternoon. So I'm running all the races in all 3 regions this season.
That's not an easy schedule. That's not an easy schedule at all. Well, you got some good data at least from this one. Something you'll be able to use to your advantage later on. Anyone you would like to thank you for the result?
I just thank the rest of the guys on Dog Bear. I mean, we all worked together all week long to get qualified, get into the race, and work on our race setups and strategy, and work together during the race to help each other out. So, all the other guys in Dog Bear. There's quite a few in the race today.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne, very much for the interview, and congratulations for a great finish.
Thank you.
And it sounds like we've got P2 ready to chat with us. It's Alex Crow, and I have to confess, Alex, that I was trying to dig up your stats because I don't feel as familiar with you. How long have you been taking part in the majors? Because it doesn't seem like you have too much underneath you, which makes a P2 all the more impressive.
Not a whole lot. I think out of the major series race, I think this would technically be my first one.
Wow.
Other than that, Majors 24, Blackout, and then the MEC races this season. Usually stick to the prototypes, but can't pass up on this race.
Okay, then that's a heck of an entry coming into top split, which is not easy to get into here for the Major Speedway 500, and then going on to being one position shy of getting to taste victory in your very first go. Does this set a high bar for you, or do you feel more so that it just improves your confidence?
Definitely improves my confidence. This is one of probably my favorite race to race in, to watch in the Worlds all the time. It's the most exciting race, so something I'd practice for. I know, like, if I were to enter, say it was the Coke 600 a few weeks ago, I would not have done well in that. I cannot drive a stock car for the life of me. This is pretty much the only car I can drive on an oval.
You said you had experience with the prototypes. Have you done much with the Indy car on iRacing before this?
A fair amount. It's like my number 2 car at this point. I'm pretty confident in road courses, ovals, and the Indy car. In Indianapolis is something I've put aside some time for, though.
Well, the great news for you is that if you're good at the prototypes, you've got the Le Mans 2.4 coming up next. Are you going to return and see if you could go one step higher?
Absolutely, yeah. Haven't decided on a car yet, but I'll absolutely be here for Le Mans 2.4 and the Majors 24.
Well, again, congratulations on the podium today, and a mighty impressive run, made all the more wow factor by the fact that that's your first Majors race, sir.
Awesome, thank you.
That was Alex Crow coming home P2 in his first ever try in the series, which you got to be pretty darn good to be able to do that. So watch out for Alex Crow. But in the meantime, we want you to keep watching us, as a big thank you goes to the Majors for bringing us back for another season of coverage, as well as thanks to the team today, Stephen, Ozzy, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. We've mentioned it a couple times, but we will be back for Le Mans. It's the 2.4. It's not the 24-hour race that they run in this series. That'll be its own thing, not part of the championship. But this one will be Sunday, June 1st at 11:45 a.m. Eastern. And then coming up very soon here on the channel, we've got the POC heading off to Suzuka tomorrow night, and more racing coming after that. So make sure and check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer, and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Anybody really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.